Hello, Offspring. You're welcome. It's some lady's recipe online. I was just looking up. I had a spare cup of pumpkin puree left over, so I was searching around online for recipes that just use a cup of pumpkin puree. Found that one. I didn't know bucatini existed. I know there are like a million different pastas. Didn't know there was a hollow spaghetti. Yeah, I agree. It's pretty good. I like the way the texture, the texture is different, like chewier almost. Just because of the the way the layers press together inside. I don't know. Whatever it is that makes it feel the way it feels. It's like a stiffer. Had a professor use bucatini? Is it bucatini? Bucatini! Hey, it's my cousin Bucatini! Happy Halloween, it's Bucatini! Yeah, I'm trying to imagine a scenario where I wouldn't prefer it over spaghetti. I feel like I just want it more than the spaghetti. It was more expensive than getting spaghetti by quite a lot. As in, 500 grams was £2. But I mean, if I'm using 250 grams, and that's 2 huge servings, £1 per meal for me and my girlfriend. In terms of the pasta, whatever, it's not insane. It's not insane, but compared to spending like 70p on 500 grams of spaghetti, it's more than double the price. But in absolute terms, it's not that expensive. Thank you very much for the sub, Evan Five Salvo. Isn't that what the Jawas in Star Wars kept saying? I can't remember what they even sound like. Are the Jawas the sand people? Is that them, or are they something else? Graham Strachan. Cannot type. Been watching me so long. I presume you mean, like, you've been watching me for a great period of time, rather than been watching Tim so long! Ooh, the video I uploaded today is monetized. I'm just going to upload it today instead of tomorrow. Do you remember yesterday when we watched... Well, not yesterday. Do you remember the other day when we watched Moist Critical be retarded about AI? Or be retarded specifically about the AI website? I edited that down. Daylight saving is shit. Daylight savings is shit because... like, you get an extra hour to sleep today. Or we got an extra hour to sleep today. But guess what? I normally get up at 8. Today I got up at 6 coughing. My cough is so fucking bad and it keeps getting worse. I'm going to the doctor tomorrow. Going to the doctor tomorrow. You know what? I'm not going to tell them I was sick like a week and a half ago. I'm not going to tell them I was sick. I'm just going to tell them my cough's getting worse. Because if I tell them I'm sick, they're going to say, oh, you were sick. Give it a month to get better. Fucking no. I've had this cough for like 4 or 5 fucking months now. No. I'm just going to tell them it's getting worse, and here it is now. Hello, Tim. A boob-eye hit the second child, indeed, Mr. President. Berna, it's getting ridiculous now. It's waking me up and fucking up my sleep. COVID? The cough started when I got COVID, yeah. Or rather, this version of the cough. The long-term cough started because I got COVID. And it's just getting worse. I had a chest x-ray, and my chest was all clear. But since then, it's gotten significantly worse. So I'm going to go to the doctor. I'm just going to say, fucking help! It's stopping me from fucking sleeping! I'm going to die! Just from, like... I'll have like a coughing fit that lasts for like 20 minutes. And it will feel like I'm choking and can't breathe. Real bad. Jawas are Frogans. Yes, thank you. Hello, Tim. I'm a representative of Jubilee. And I'm here to inform you, unless you stream Limbo of the Lost right now, we'll be suing you for the grand total of $7 billion. I'll tell you what, you can have my ad revenue from this stream. How's that for a deal? We'll probably do Limbo of the Lost at Christmas, like we always do. No, Limbo of the Lost is New Year's, not Christmas. Right? Limbo of the Lost, New Year's. Cough syrup doesn't fucking do anything. I've gone through, like, over the past few months, I've gone through, like, 4 bottles of the stuff. Like, 4 different bottles of the stuff. Doesn't do fucking anything. It's just a jar of sugar. Can I handle Limbo of the Lost? Yeah, I can play pretty much any game now. It's just like my ability to play games for extended periods. And the more intense the game is, the shorter the period I can play it for, right? Like my tolerance is improving and has improved, but I may I may end up playing V Rising with my girlfriend. We'll see. I tried it out earlier today and it didn't fuck up my eyes too badly. She's gonna try it out and see if she likes it, and then that can be a game we play together. Because we haven't been able to play games together for ages and ages and ages. V Rising is nice. You should def stream some. Nah, because if I was gonna stream it, I'd want to play a lot of it. Right? To get anywhere on V Rising, you got to play a fucking lot of it. So it'll just be like an hour here or there with my girlfriend, probably. Like not anything where I'm gonna make like significant progress. Just dicking around, having fun. On stream, I think I'd want to be doing like, you know, PvP, killing people while they sleep, that sort of thing. You're supposed to mix cough syrup with Sprite. We don't have access to that kind of cough syrup. I purchased a humidifier. I have it running right now. I run my humidifier a couple hours each day when I'm in the loft to try and make sure the air has moisture in it, so I'm not coughing because I'm dry. It doesn't help much, right? Card games with GF sounds like fun. We played Rummy Cub for a bit. I'm going to try and introduce her to Magic the Gathering or Mahjong. Which one should I do? I feel like I only have one chance. I feel like if I pick the wrong one, she'll be turned off of tabletop games forever. It's Rummikub. Rummikub. We pirated Rummikub. We made our own tiles with paint and card. Mahjong, probably. You think Magic the Gathering's too much? The reason I think Magic the Gathering might be a good idea is even though she's never played a card game before, there's a set in Magic the Gathering called something like Moonwood or Moongloom, and the set is all like rats and mice and cute little creatures, and I think she'd like that. Hello, Spoon. Magic is easier to get. What then, Mahjong? What about Flesh and Blood? Well, I'm thinking about stuff with an online client. Bloomborough, that's the one, Gorbnew. I'm thinking about something with a good online client. Flesh and Blood has a free client, but like it's not good. It's a third party like fan made client. It works great if you just want to play it and love it. If you want a good experience, nah. She'll leave me if I show her Mahjong. So was someone trying to say, well, not Pokemon TCG? It's just a dog shit card game though, isn't it? For the Pokemon card game, Pokemon cards rule as little collectible things. The Pokemon game, fucking shit. So bad. Insanely bad. Almost as bad as Yu-Gi-Oh!, the worst of the card games. I also don't think Flesh and Blood would appeal to her as much stylistically, but who knows. But someone was saying they think Magic the Gathering is easier to get into than Mahjong. Absolutely fucking not. Absolutely false. No. MTG, way, way, way more complex than Mahjong. Or rather, the sheer amount of... The way like every single card can potentially break the rules. Right? Every single card has its own effect. Makes it so much more complex than Mahjong. In Mahjong, you just throw away one tile every turn. Granted, yes, okay. It's a bit more complex than that, but... it's a lot more complex than that, but you know what I mean. Alright. Do you like the thumbnail for my Moist Critical highlight? Gaslit by Cleverbot. That's what happened, pretty much. Am I talking about Japanese or Chinese Mahjong? I'm talking about Richi. Japanese. The Chinese version certainly is simpler than Magic the Gathering. Well, most of the Chinese versions are totally brain dead. Literally just efficiency. Most versions of Chinese Mahjong, it's 4 people playing solitaire together. you don't really interact that heavily. Like, you don't need to worry about defense, or you can't really do much for defenses. Bleh. Bleh! Not interested. Anyway, what are we doing today? Oh. The end of Twitch. Have you guys heard of this? Scappy. Thank you very much, Evan Father Salvo, please. Twitch has incurred a great storm of Jewish wrath. Organizations like, what's it called? Have I played Mahjong Soul? Yes, most of my Mahjong experience is on Mahjong Soul. Oh, Nicandros, thank you as well.
Romaldo, please.
So, organization Stop Anti-Semitism has called out Twitch. Many social media figures have called out Twitch. I think the ADL probably has been involved. I would be shocked if they weren't. Some publications like Mediaite have mentioned what's going on Twitch. It's popping off. People are contacting subscribers. People are trying to kick off an adpocalypse.
Elusive Man has become a member.
Thank you, Elusive
the
Man.
Anti-Semitic remarks.
Hey, I'm not taking a side. I'm just enjoying the race war. Okay, I'm just enjoying the race war. I get less than $20 a month in ad revenue. In terms of losing ad revenue, I don't give a fuck. But in terms of Twitch dying or having to make drastic changes because of this, I care somewhat. Just don't take away my Amazon Primes. Just leave my Primes alone. Please. I have a cat to feed. I have a small boy to feed. The small boy is me. Oh, I used leftover sausage meat today. I made my girlfriend and I grilled sandwiches with I made like a little spiced sausage patty. So we had sage Derby cheese with a hot sausage patty on top and then a fried egg on top as our sandwich filling. It was pretty good. Yeah. Allegedly, 70% of the major advertisers have ditched. According to this Dan fellow, I believe, Destiny's friend, he has also leaked a selection of messages that I believe are from ex-Twitch staff who have a Slack group. I'm sure we'll find out from context. Apparently Dan has hidden his original stream, but this channel, Destiny Disputes, has made a highlight collection of what was dropped, and I figured we'd look at that first. It seems important, as one of the platforms I stream on is Twitch, and it might be nuked by Israel. Perhaps... Perhaps we might be demographically replaced now that the borders are open to Israel. Who knows? Though I don't think the Jews are very happy with Twitch currently. Perhaps to the point of not using it. It would be kind of a silly move to go, we're boycotting you because you banned us from signing up. Okay.
Right. Let's get right into the news.
It's just like the heckin' Keemstar.
The first fucking screenshot sent to me. This right here really speaks to the culture of what Twitch is.
So he's been sent these screenshots by people. All right. Supposedly this is Slack. It looks like Discord to me.
This is Twitch culture right here. So what we have here is in their internal Slack, we had a person make a post like, hey, that's interesting. Twitch has blocked new users from Israel. What's the first reply from Twitch people? It was from a safety developer. What has anyone from Israel ever done for Twitch?
I think further context is needed to understand. To understand how funny this is. I believe trust and safety was outsourced to Egypt. Is my understanding. So being senior trust and safety, being on the trust and safety team, whatever, means it's Egyptians going, but what has Israel done for Twitch?
Nice culture, Twitch. Nice culture. 2 thumbs up. Oh, someone hearted it. The one who hearted it was Senior Trust and Safety. Based. Wait, can I get the Frogan clip?
Okay, based, but look. Also, now ask them to let the Palestinians through. And the answer will be like, not after what they did last time we let them in.
Based.
Based?
Based.
I guess more of a Jordanian complaint, but you know, Egypt has its own issues with Palestinoids as well.
And this one right here was just a lowly engineer, the lull, as you can expect, because engineers are just... When they told me they'll block account creation in these 2 regions, so here's someone who knows about it, Israel and Palestine. For those of you guys who are like, oh, so it's not anti-Semitic, they blocked Israel and Palestine. The first thing to know is that the PS, Palestine region code, is almost meaningless at this point in time. Gaza, in the West Bank, gets most of its internet, not from there, but from Egypt, from Lebanon, and from Jordan. Those are the 3. So this does nothing. Remember the block they put in? They said it was for email only. What the f? And it's in place to stop extremist content.
Egypt may not be taking in Palestinians, but it is taking in Palestinian Twitchers, letting them through, getting them past the Twitch blockade.
Like they think that a fucking terrorist is going to be holding a MacBook in their hand while they do fucking jihad. Like they're not going to use a phone or something. Are you fucking high? Never mind the fact that it was a full block, okay? It wasn't just email signups. It was mobile as well. The only people who could sign up...
Twitch did indeed cast out the Jews.
Unironically, which is kind of funny, are...
Which, no matter what you think about that, I think you have to agree it's an insane move with regard to care for finance. Which I may have said too much anyway already. Look, because this will happen. Because this will happen.
Those that were in Gaza and Palestine. So it actually only blocked people that lived in Israel. How fucking funny, huh? How fucking based. Based? Based? Anyways, when I told them that they would block account creation in these 2 regions, I told them it was a bad idea. Censorship. But they didn't listen. They didn't listen. Okay? And then they forgot to remove the block after the RIF. I forget, this is probably some programmer term. 7 face palms there. Now this is, again, the incompetency at the company. I hope that Twitch as a company is just led by a fucking moron that wants to be liked by OTK, has no management skills whatsoever. That's what I want to believe. So he keeps putting all the people that everyone likes together instead of actually trying to build a business. Well, anyways, on to this next message here. Twitch doing something without remembering to undo it later? What? Never. This message brought to you by the video organization who did this all the time, and a bunch of omegalols. So what we have is, it's so funny that this company is so incompetent.
They're just silly babies. They're just silly babies.
That they had people like trolling about it. All right, let's go on to the next one. Oh no! Someone leaked. And then what else did they leak? First off, they leaked that they laugh about the way that the code was put into the... so this is a code that was leaked to... Stop anti-Semitism. And they say they actually hard-coded it. They're laughing. And then at the bottom, look at this. Look at the culture here. Dropping a JIRA ticket in there seems suspiciously cover your ass. They're like, so the engineer, the poor bastard engineer who had to put this code in place to block all of Israel is like, I'm putting a fucking JIRA ticket in here saying that like the crazy lady in Trust and Safety with the purple hair who hates Jews or whatever, she told me I had to block Israel. That's why I'm doing it, just to be...
Ironically, I would suggest allowing a nation access to Twitch is an attack on that nation. Really, they've only strengthened Israel over this last year.
Clear. He knew from day fucking 1 what he was doing.
I can't believe they denied the Jews access to watching Hassan Piker. How could they do it to him?
So apparently they're saying that that's like unusual to do this, to put a JIRA. JIRA is like a ticket management system. So it's like, instead of just committing a line of code, he committed code, and then he's like, above that code, there's a line. Please see this link to see why the I did this. Please don't send me to jail. When Amazon finds out that all the grants, and Twitch finds out that all the grants they got from the government require that we don't block Israel, and we did it. Oops. Well, the ability to dynamically block signups based on criteria that could have been coded sometime in the last years that Twitch has been blocking things, instead of just appending to a single file. So they're basically saying, you know, why do we not have like a proper system and do this instead of writing a hardline piece of code in there. It's the first time Twitch has ever blocked a country. Let's just
Oh.
give them a pass. It's real nice, by the way, that the country that they ban is Israel, the one that right now everyone in the world seems to hate, the far right, the far left, everything.
Okay, look, and though inconsequentially in practice, Palestine block as well, okay? Look,
Have we banned?
you gotta be fair and balanced. You can acknowledge that it's an inconsequential block. But they did it, at least as a token act.
Ukraine? Have we banned Russia? I think there's a lot of drone videos and streaming going on there. Might be good to ban those countries from signing up too. Why only Israel? That's weird. I got every single scandal that Twitch has. It's every single one. You know the funny part also? You're like, oh man, Twitch right now is probably looking for the one Jewish employee that's worked there in the last 20 years. This guy that leaked it to me, he's...
I don't know. Do you think? Do you think Twitch overall is Jew dry? I don't know. Employee demographics. I know that it's significant that trust and safety is what, outsourced to Egypt? That seems like a big deal. Look, I think Twitch is far too paused to be Jewless entirely. Or to have like a shockingly low number. Do we know Twitch staff demographics at all?
He's actually not Jewish. He's like a Palestinian activist. And he's like, I just fucking hate Dan Clancy. He is so fucking cringe. He just wants to be liked by everyone else. He's shit at his job. The saddest thing, allegedly, don't know if this is true, but he said during COVID, when everyone was fucking locked up and he came in there, he was trying to look cool on a Zoom call, lifting weights in front of everyone else when people were fucking dying in front of them. Based? Dan Clancy is more obsessed with being liked by OTK than fucking building a product that people give a shit about. I'm gonna caution this. Just because you're Arabic or have an Arabic name does not mean anything. It means fucking nothing. Okay? But I'm conspiracy killed. Because every time I look up anything on the site, ever, it's always
the Arabic in red writing. Dan, just optically, maybe, like, this commentary, fine. The Scarlet, is it red? Okay, I need to check with my glasses. The Scarlet A is maybe not the best optical choice, I will suggest.
like if I flip a coin 1,000 times and it's like anti-Semitism on one side or incompetence or I don't understand on the other, every single time it's been anti-Semitism. Every single time. So anyways,
I think the ADL makes those coins.
this is an Arabic guy that was in customer trust, okay? Trust and safety team. I don't agree with people calling this anti-Semitism. Signups from Palestine were also blocked. Yeah, right. Except for the fact that nobody fucking uses that shit. This person could be the world's biggest Jewish activist. I have no idea. I'm just putting that there for context. I'm sure people will love to clip this and be like, oh, he said Arab, he's racist. I just put there, and I prefaced it pretty clearly with my feelings on the situation. This is the Asmongold was banned after racist rant about Palestinians. This guy, this is nothing. Shout out to Kotaku for not putting the word race.
Kotaku! Okay. Grammar is important. That quote makes it look like Palestinians will be banned for 14 days due to having an inferior culture. No, it... Come on. Come on.
Racist in quotes. Like,
grammar is important. Fucking context and common sense are important too, dog.
Like some other sources. And then this guy here, you mean like some other journalists? Now, I'm taking a leap here by doing the triple.
Do they think people will interpret that sentence? The streamer said Muslims come from an inferior culture and will reportedly be banned for 14 days. Do they think people are going to read that as if Asmongold said Muslims will be banned for 14 days? You fucking imbecile Twitch ex-dev. There's actually nothing wrong with this sentence.
Parentheses, but this is the same person that said this line right here. This is the safety developer. The same person who said, what has Israel ever done for Twitch? That's the same person who said that. So you could say, Dan, you're breaching. That's definitely not triple quotes. It sure fucking reads to me like anti-Jewish. Maybe I'm wrong.
Let me hear what is his argument, his point again.
Taking a leap here by doing the triple parentheses, but this is the same person that said this line right here. This is the safety developer. The same person who said, what has Israel ever done for Twitch? That's the same person who said that. So
The quotes around journalists? He's clearly saying they're frauds, they're fakes, because they aren't bold enough to call someone racist explicitly and putting quotes around it. Saying this, and this is neurotic. You've got them on a lot of stuff. This is actually just fucking neurotic. Is this guy Jewish? Come on. I don't have a strong Judar, but come on.
you could say, Dan, you're breaching. That's definitely not triple quotes. It sure fucking reads to me like anti-Jewish. Maybe I'm wrong. God, we got more shit. I thought we were done. This is an interesting one. Right now, the current trust and safety policy manager or manager of something, I forget, but basically one of the highest up people at Twitch. This person's last job, they stepped down after an investigation in front of Parliament, in front of the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. It was on TV. You guys probably saw this story. They stepped down because they were being investigated for anti-Israel sentiment or activities or whatever the fuck you want to call it. So this is a trust and safety manager here. This is a good one here. This person is basically defending this person. I've had a chance to talk with this person. I think she has great policy ideas and practices. I don't really like the idea of the pitchforks over things that are murky, blah, blah, blah. By the way, do you know who this guy is that I found out? This guy in red. I'm not going to identify him by name. And again, if anything happens to that Slack, I will identify people. I want to preface this very clearly. I hope I actually do. You know what? Never unban Steve from Twitch. I'm not joking.
The anti-Israel stuff here is good enough for what they're trying to do. They're trying to add apocalypse Twitch. Like it's not an actual purely moral campaign. They've already decided. They've already concluded needs to be smashed. It's bad. On top of that, personal issues, all combined. So now it's okay. We've decided it's correct to smash and do as much damage as possible. For those purposes, going. This guy was in front of Parliament for anti-Israeli stuff. Had to step down. Blah 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 blah. And this guy's defending them, and he was involved with Twitch Trust and Safety Manager. That's good enough for this to try and get advertisers to go, whoa, we're out.
Never unban him. It's better on YouTube. I don't really like Twitch. I don't want to support that anti-Semitic platform. I don't want to do it. Don't unban Destiny. Now that I've had that said, you know who this guy is? In Destiny's ticket, in his file, there's a thing in there that says,
here's the fun thing.
Do not even fucking touch Destiny's account or even think about unbanning him until you talk to me. That's who this guy is right here. This is the guy.
This is the Destiny gatekeeper. Amazing. Similar to the issues we were seeing with the protests in the US, people being against the actions of Israel and those protesters getting accused of being anti-Semitic. That's not the case. Definitely seems to be another case where someone was caught up in that situation. That any form of criticism on a government's actions is being considered as hateful, racist. Sure. Yep, the Netanyahu government leans into this framing as well. Their actions cover. All it does at the end of the day, though, muddy the waters as to if there's actual... Come on. That's fucking concern trolling. Come on. Come on. All it does at the end of the day, though, is muddy the waters as to if there's actual anti-Semitism going on. While smearing anti-war activists. This is just one of many headlines that frames someone or some group as being anti-Israel/Semitism. But you can't even really figure out what was said and in what context, which is super important, especially now. As an American Jew, I'm already struggling with the Israel-Palestinian conflict enough as it is. I don't need all these people demonizing one side or another, making it even more murky.
And he's like, what's the problem with hiring someone that stepped down in front of Parliament for hating Israel? I think they're totally based. This is the person in the file. Do not unban or touch this without first reaching out to me. This next segment,
Destiny betrayed.
I just like to call Twitch fucking hates Asmongold. This is unironically, a very small segment of the stuff that was sent to me. He's a Dr. Disrespect apologist.
Can we stop calling people rape apologists and just call them Dr. Disrespect apologists? Oh. Asmongold has helped further harassment during Gamergate 2, and he's a Dr. Disrespect apologist. Literally just don't even cut your wrists, lop your hands off, and then bleed out. If you ever have the impulse to say a fucking sentence like this, unironically, not as a joke, not satirically. If this is a sentence you can say and mean at face value, remove yourself from existence. Immediately!
Weird. That's a weird thing. Did more people at Twitch know about Dr. Disrespect? Did they know what happened? Why are you calling him a Dr. Disrespect apologist? That's weird. I thought nobody knew. That's weird.
Have you guys seen Dr. Disrespect's new merch, by the way? Anyone bought a MAGA hat? Sorry, I guess it's really a MIGA hat. Are you guys MIGAs?
Gaming great again.
Make gaming great again hat.
Let's make
MGGA.
That's weird. That's weird. Did Dan Clancy know? That's weird. Based? All right, let's go on the next one. Thanks, Dan. Not me. Not this Dan. That's Dan KKK Clancy. Okay. Thanks, Dan. I hope you do some wacky onstage gymnastics with Asmongold next. So
What?
This is more to the how of a CEO and how low some of the people, even the people that align with him on politics, still think he's a fucking loser. I wouldn't recommend consuming Asmongold content.
I want to buy a hat and tell people, don't worry, I only wear it ironically. I don't support Dr. Disrespect, just pedophilia and racism.
Upvoted by emoted by 7 people, liked by more. I'd appreciate the following recommendation. TIL is the
Disavow the KK Clancy comment? I don't know if I should. Because what if Twitch just leans into its Arab supremacist policies? Maybe you'll have to call him that. Maybe it will be mandated.
first when I search for the incel emote. If anyone is curious why, go to his subreddit and look at the
Yo, it's like an inverted Third Reich. Instead of the Nazis having one Muslim regiment, the Twitch Muslims will have one white man regiment. It's cool. It's a remix.
type of vomit that they put onto the internet. Yep, I don't even care if Asmon isn't a garbage person, because the majority of his audience appears to be. So they're basically like, they hate Asmongold.
As soon as I get even a whiff of Gamergate these days, I just tune out.
Even if he's done nothing wrong. And again, he did something wrong. But that said, they hate him even if he didn't do anything wrong. Just because they want to hate his fans or what he stands for, or because he's not sucking Hassan's. As soon as I even get a whiff of Gamergate these days, I just tune out. Not even remotely worth my time or even worth considering.
We need a Gamergate cologne.
It. There's I have a lot more. The Slack only has retention for 90 days, but we've been, this guy had been saving it for a while. So we have more stuff going back, but I still have to filter through more of the stuff. I just wanted to push something out quickly because I got the feeling, I got the itch that Twitch was thinking of putting out a new statement. Here's something I do want to put across to people. I am recommending
Me saying, look, I don't care. I don't care if this black creator is a great person. Look at all these people in the chat saying the N-word towards them. Their audience is terrible, and that's what matters. Anyway.
That if you see ads playing anywhere on Twitch, until Dan Clancy steps down, and this is his responsibility, I highly recommend that you let these companies know who they're supporting with this type of shit.
Imagine seeing ads on Twitch.
It's easy to do. Like, if you see an ad for A&W root beer, go to LinkedIn, type in A&W marketing, and you'll find the guy in
If you see an ad for A&W root beer, go to your nearest shooting range.
charge of marketing, and then you just go to anymailfinder.com, type in A&W.com and the guy's name,
Anymailfinder.com? Was that a Grindr competitor?
and you drop him an email, and you send him a video of the ad playing in front of whatever fucking insane content happens to be going on at the time. Or you just say, hey, I want to let you know that your ad is on this site that currently banned Jews for a year. And the ban would still be in fucking place today, by the way. Don't forget that. Don't forget the fact that Twitch didn't remove this ban out of the graciousness of their heart. They removed the ban because enough people finally told them.
They banned Israel for Asked Monkey. But remember, this isn't just a race war. This is a leftoid infight. And it's broadly accepted that if something is done that disproportionately targets a particular demographic indirectly, it must be a secret strategy to hit that demographic, right? Voter suppression. You're trying to get rid of the black vote by requiring ID to vote, right? You're trying to get rid of this ethnicity by blocking Israel.
The entire
Between them, like, you guys will contest that. I think it will be hard to contest it in this conflict. And certainly, I don't think advertisers will care to contest it. I don't think advertisers will give a flying fuck about that detail. If enough people are saying it, if the narrative is Twitch banned the Jews, Coca-Cola isn't going to be like, let's look further into that. Or rather, whoever is, whatever agency is managing ads on Twitch for them.
year, you had people in Israel constantly emailing them, doing user voice tickets, tweeting at them, making threads in our Reddit. And you know what happened to all of that shit? Deleted, ignored, sent to trash ban.
The Jews were screaming in agony, scraping at the wooden door on the entrance to Twitch. Let us in! For a year! And Twitch said no.
Generic response. That's what happened for all of that. They knew, and if they didn't know, they're incompetent. For a year, it would still be in place. And you know what's even more f***ed up? I know for a fact that if I didn't bitch and moan...
Don't even. With how hard Dan's gone, he doesn't need to give the pressure release valve of, oh, they're incompetent. That's less fiery. If you're trying to cause advertisers to divest, if you're BDS against Twitch, if you're going to be Twitch's BDS, don't even mention that.
And do all this bullshit. And Ethan didn't speak up, and other people didn't speak up, and the congressmen haven't spoken up, that just one day, and maybe 6 months from now, maybe a year from now, the ban would just silently be removed. No one would know, except for a few Twitch engineers. Well, we know now.
So those are the supposed highlights from Dan's stream. I suspect things are gonna get pretty bad for Twitch. Would be my prediction. I think it's gonna get pretty bad. That video was awful. It probably seems weird because it's a third party's highlights of a stream. He's been living on borrowed time for quite a while, though. I don't think it's been on borrowed time. But it's... It's had value other than simply making Amazon money, right? And something that mitigates its lack of profitability would be at least having some advertising revenue, right? If they lose most of that, or huge chunks of that, will it still be worth it for Amazon? I don't know. Or what will Amazon... wouldn't necessarily result in the end of Twitch, but it would probably result in the end of Twitch as we know it, I would presume. I mean, sent this video. I don't know if it's going to be any good, but the thumbnail screams to me that it's going to be incredible. How I Escaped the Alt-Right Pipeline, and you've got JBP and Nige. This is... If he does anything other than consider them a possible start of the lip of the pipeline, if he's like, ooh, I went down the dark path to cleaning my room and being, you know, and having Christianity not so subtly recommended to me, I don't think I'll be terribly impressed. But I do love the genre of how I left the left, how I escaped the right. I love I escaped the right and how I left the left videos. They're normally great. And I don't know anything about this guy, so I can't. I think it would be good to have some further context. England's evil North versus South divide. It's called All the Fucking Money Goes to London. Is that what you mean? How Britain created a knife crime quote-unquote epidemic. We didn't put enough anti-stabbing warnings on fried chicken. Which sounds like I'm saying something insanely racist, but this is something that was done. There was a campaign here to stop knife crime, where they put like anti-knife crime slogans onto fried chicken boxes at a few different fried chicken outlets. Fried chicken outlets? Restaurants. I'm calling everything an outlet now. Great British class system explained. Okay, what else do we have here? The forgotten legal high crisis? It's not forgotten, mate. You got some like little scoliosis looking curled up zombies in the gutters. Go outside, you'll remember it real fucking quick. Okay, I have some sort of flavor of this. So he's taken a shot at a How I Escaped the Alt-Right Pipeline video. See how this goes. Normally you have to be... Youngest I'd say this guy could possibly be is like 23. And I think the cutoff for saying I escaped the alt-right pipeline is like 20. I think that's the oldest you can get away with talking like this. We'll see. I'm not good with ages, though. How old is the channel? That's a good question. I wonder. His oldest video is 9 years. Tech Watch. On here. Hardcore mockumentary. When does he pop off? Oh, how one man nearly destroyed parkour, 2.1 million views, and then he starts getting consistently nice. Or at least what I'd like to have, because I would make a fuck ton of money with these views. Okay. Subculture enthusiast. All right.
This video is brought to you by Squarespace.
Squarespace.
Yes, my brothers, my brodies, my woadies. I'm going to do another one of these little talk to cams. You might have noticed, through some of my videos, I officially joined the woke brigade. It's unfortunate.
Does he have any videos about, like, giving drugs to kids? Officially joined the woke brigade. I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it in the subject matter.
I didn't really want to, but I'm going to talk how we got here. My political arc has been pretty insane. At one point, I was in a knee...
Chat doesn't know about the English North and South. Really? I mean, I summarized it for you. All the money goes to London. There you go. Extrapolate from there. You can just imagine.
Malama
Industry is fucking dead up north, okay?
video supporting Trump. That's me. I'll admit it. Blurry boy.
Trump Reporters UK. I'm here. Look at my hat. I love Donald Trump.
So today we're going to talk about
Wait, hold on a second.
Really want to, but I'm going to talk how we got here. My political arc has been pretty insane. At one point, I was in a Nico Malama video supporting Trump. That's me. I'll admit it. Blurry boy.
Trump Reporters UK. I'm here. Look at my hat.
Why?
I love Donald Trump.
Are you a fucking... Bro, you didn't have to, like, leave the right. You're telling us you're a cuckold. Supporting another country's president or presidential candidate? I didn't catch when that was.
Today we're going to talk about how I managed to escape the alt-right pipeline.
Up yours, woke moralists. How big is Luton?
That clip is pretty good. Every time. It's amazing.
It's 200,000 population.
And how many lost?
45.
There will never be peace on this earth so long as we have this book. It's a violent and cursed book.
Attacks on mosques, other minority communities singled out, wanton violence alongside racist rhetoric.
Bro, look, attacks on Eastern Asians are bad. But I think it's not great to call it wanton violence, alright?
When I was a young gangster, a YG, I was a little bruh, right? A little bruh. I'm about 13 years old. And we're invited into school. It was mandatory, we weren't invited. And we had to do a speech. So, you know, my mate goes up and he does the history of Chelsea Football Club. A girl goes up and she does about horse riding.
He wrote a little speech about Josef Mengele.
I go up with my little thumb drive, plug it in, 9/11. So I basically proceed to radicalise a classroom of young, impressionable 13-year-olds as to why the American government did 9/11.
Who do you believe was behind 9/11?
Criminal elements of the military-industrial complex, the same ones that staged Gulf of Tonkin, the same ones that staged Operation...
Bullshit? Nah, like, I don't know. If you think it's bullshit just on its face, be advised. I ended up role playing in front of my year group at an assembly. I role played as Robert Mugabe, and I gave a speech on why terrorism is good. So things like this do occur. All right? Did I ever tell you about that?
The mass shootings of Operation Gladio.
Right.
Ooh,
I was in this kind of like early...
And I did an accent.
Conspiracy theory bubble. But what I want to say is it was interesting.
And my tutor was fucking into it. My tutor who, so you have tutor groups here, right? So you have your, it's like, how do I even describe it? I don't know if you have it in the US, where you have your general class, but you don't attend every class with them. For subjects like maths, where you're split up by ability, you'd be in different groups, but it sort of is generally the kind of student you'll be around, and you have a tutor period or two each week where you're like able to, you know, do some organizational things, ask for advice from your tutor, whatever. Similar to a homeroom, okay. This was the tutor who made a statement to our class that homosexuality is a disease. he was fucking... I went to him and said, because we did some sort of UN, there was some sort of UN event. And I went to him and I said, "Sir, I've been practicing public speaking. I want to do public speaking. Can you put me in as Zimbabwe?" And he said, yes. He was well into it.
Interesting, right? Because at that time, being a conspiracy theorist wasn't left and right. It was just anti-establishment. And so whilst I was listening to Alex Jones, I'd also be listening to the Young Turks and listening about Occupy Wall Street. So when I was young, I was just a sort of contrarian hipster. I'm not like a communist, but I'm definitely not a capitalist, and I'm definitely left wing.
I'm not communist, but I'm definitely not a capitalist. I feel like these are very strange statements to make.
And I definitely voted to remain in the EU referendum. And so time goes by, I grow up, and I remember I got...
In what sense do you mean I'm definitely not a capitalist? As in, you know, you don't own private property on which other people work and you skim off the profit from? Do you mean you oppose private property, therefore disabling the existence of the capitalist? Or what do you mean what does I'm definitely not a capitalist mean? What does that fucking mean?
You know, I had a few jobs working like fucking Sainsbury's or B&Q, and that was further fueling my sort of anti-capitalist feelings. But I remember I got one job and I met this geezer and he was a proper right-winger.
Capitalism is good because...
Right, okay, but why did that make you hate specifically capitalism? I feel like he's leaving out details that would make this more meaningful. Like, your resentment of capitalism, what was your understanding of what capitalism is? I suspect there are other modes of production that would generate similar resentment in you, regardless. You met a Geysir? I've been to Geysir! It doesn't blow up anymore. It doesn't squirt anymore, but I've seen it. I've seen the geyser after which all other geysers are named. That's pretty cool.
Because capitalism is freedom. Socialism is bad because socialism is tyranny.
It was like a right-winger in the flesh. I'd never seen one before. I was like, what the fuck hell is this? Capitalism good? Welfare state bad?
Is that spring or summer? Which one is that? It's spring or summer, but I never remember which one.
NHS bad? But you see, although I deeply disagreed with all of his views at the beginning, you gotta remember 13-year-old contrarian Jimmy. He's still in there somewhere. And what he's hearing is contrarian views, age? You say. Anti-establishment. Non-mainstream. Little old hipster Jimmy lapped up this sort of right-wing rhetoric because I realised it was different to everyone else, and that would make me...
What the fuck are you talking about different to everyone else?
Interesting if I believed all these things, right? And like when I say right wing, it's not, you know, we don't like foreigners. It's stuff like this.
The people who get on welfare lose their human independence and feeling of dignity. They become subject to the dictates and whims of their welfare supervisor, who can tell them whether they can live here or there, whether they may put in a telephone.
You never ran into people like this?
What they may do with their lives. They're treated like children.
So now I'm at the doors of the alt-right pipeline, right? I pick up my hat.
Milton Friedman, the god of neoliberalism.
With the light, turn the torch on, grab my pickaxe, and I head in. And the first stop is Jordan Peterson.
And then if I'd said to you, please... I'd rather go by she. How would you respond to that on a personal level? How would...
The way I have responded to that...
He's not... No, he specifically said he's not going for, like, extreme rightoid stuff. He's talking about his initial introduction. Like, the mouth of the pipe. The lips that sucked him in. It started with, for instance, Milton Friedman.
Because I've had a number of conversations...
I was gonna say, does he know about the boys from Brazil? That's something very different to what I'm referring to. I'm referring to Minds of Business in Brazil, influenced by Milton Friedman.
With transgendered individuals is that I use whatever pronoun seems to go along with the persona that they're projecting publicly.
How can I describe the fact that someone who was once a woman and...
Hey, I haven't heard Jordan's take on that. I think that's how it should be. That's practically my take. I think the pronoun you use should be your expression of your experience of their gender presentation.
really still is.
If you get misgendered, it's a skill issue.
Had her breasts cut off because she, he, they, their, them had fallen prey to a viciously hard...
It's also a pro-diversity position because it doesn't require, like, a formalization of gender, such that it may be protected by force by the state. Just let everyone have whatever their opinion is on gender. All right?
Harmful fad.
So bear in mind,
including the people looking at you.
I didn't go to university. I went and just tried to make little businesses. I did a parkour brand. I ran a vegan food store. I did lots of little things. And very importantly, I was not academic. Jordan Peterson, to young Jimmy, sounded like how I imagine smart people sound.
Like Kermit the Frog? This guy's saying, I think what people want to hear him say, or what people want to hear. He must know that this is what people want to hear about Jordan Peterson. You know, my mind was blown when I heard about the rats. It goes like this. The rat, you know, he's like this, and then he's like this.
So even if you do happen to be that avatar of moral purity that you claim implicitly, the probability that you'd get to act out your goodness in relationship to those possessed by your ideology is zero.
He would use big words. He would do this with his hands. He would think and contemplate. Like, he was the sort of caricature of a smart person. And it was very interesting because all of his views tended to be quite contrarian to sort of mainstream views. And he would, again, like my friend, he would talk about the benefits of capitalism. He would talk
Fair enough. Mainstream media's presentation of bias.
talk about natural hierarchies and that it wasn't capitalism's fault for hierarchies, but hierarchies are natural. And so it's very interesting because if you think about what Jordan Peterson is and what he thinks and his words now, back in
he just talked about hierarchies in a way that made me suggest he knows a lot more than he's pretending to know. And he may be better informed on political ideology than tends to be currently.
2016, it was very different, right?
As a matter of respect, in fact.
I don't know, I just got like a whiff of anarchist. Maybe I'm wrong.
Would you refer to a trans person who asked you to use they, them pronouns, a pronoun which has a several
Not if I was
100-year
compelled to.
historical
But
that's not what we're talking about.
He rises to fame on what he is portraying as a free speech battle. The Canadian government are trying to make it so that if you say the wrong pronouns to...
I think it's hard to argue that the battle itself isn't, even if you think he doesn't believe it in those terms.
A transgender person, you will go to jail. And Jordan Peterson never says something like, I don't believe in trans people, and so I don't believe I should say their pronouns. He's not saying that...
When is Tim Morrison versus 100 chatters? Every damn day, brother! And I'm on a 2,000-0 win streak.
People who do transgender surgeries are butchers. He is saying that by law, I shouldn't be forced to say anything.
Difference between saying that there's something you can't say and saying that there are things that you have to say. And I regard these made-up pronouns, all of them, as the neologisms of radical PC authoritarians.
As I grew up, I kind of realized...
Yeah, arguing that it's compelled speech, and not only is it just rawly compelled speech, it's compulsion of statement of a political leaning or support for that ideology by being forced to use it. Yeah.
As he misrepresented this bill and he was blowing things out of proportion. But if we just take it on face value and believe what he was saying, then yeah, it seemed illogical to oppose what he was saying. And so whilst I'm going through Jordan...
Illogical to oppose? That's going to depend on your values.
Peterson's books, his podcasts, his speeches, etc., I'm getting this feeling that there's this sort of crazy, indoctrinated Marxist left who are trying to suppress your freedom and usher in communism. And so all this is happening.
There are. I have bad news. There are. Yeah, there are. Just as, yeah, there are. Like, neo-Nazis are real too.
But in all the way in Canada where no one gives a fuck about. But what about here in Britain, right? In Britain, we have a sort of similar scenario.
Your perception of who counts, where they are, their power, and so on and so forth might be warped, might be off because people want it to be off, But no, they absolutely fucking exist.
And it involves a man, a very controversial man, by the name of Tommy Robinson. Before we go any further, I want to give a massive shout out to today's sponsor, Squarespace.
Stephen Yaxley Lennon, Israel's strongest soldier.
Squarespace is undoubtedly the best, I'm not kidding, the best platform when it comes to making websites. Beautiful websites, ones that are perfectly tailored to you. With their new design intelligence, which combines the newest AI technology, plus...
I thought they were insane leftists, but actually, Tommy Robinson.
Their years of understanding and crafting beautiful website templates. You can now literally type in prompts to the AI and it will create a bespoke website to
Jesus
you and
Christ.
your brand. As well as that, their payment system. So if you're selling goods online and people, maybe you have customers all around the world, Squarespace...
Alright, he's just lost. Okay, maybe he's not a grifter because the people he seems to be pandering to will eat his ass. And not in a good way for being like, yo, there's even an AI tool that replaces the job of a designer.
Takes so many different types of payments, it's now easier than ever. From Klarna to ACH Direct Debit, Apple Pay, and you can even do buy now, pay later with Afterpay and ClearPay. And also, the laborious job of writing product descriptions has got a whole world easier with Squarespace's Blueprint AI. You can just bang...
I'm an anti-capitalist. I oppose wage slave through the complete replacement of any sort of working class by machines without benefiting them.
In a prompt, it will shoot out some text. You can tweak it and change it, and it will save you time, and it's very good quality. So be sure to head over to squarespace.com/Jimmy the Giant, and to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain, use the code Jimmy the Giant. Anyway, back to the video.
All right.
This
the Quran around in your hand
book is
in
the
that
reason.
disgraceful manner
This book
is
outrageous.
outrageous.
This book is the reason we're in such a mess.
Boys, I'm not proud of this, but I'm just being an honest person. I'm trying to explain
All right.
where I was at, how I got
How many Muslims did you kill? What did you do?
to where I was and how I am where I am now. So I come across Tommy Robinson in this period of time where he goes to jail for, as he's presenting it to the audience online, trying to report on Muslim grooming gangs. He goes to jail. And I see this as a suppression of journalism, a suppression of free speech by a tyrannical government.
This was him lurking outside trials he'd been ordered to stay away from or something, right?
You know, and I ignored the fact that it was contempt of court and he knew exactly it was contempt of court and he did it deliberately to provoke this reaction, but...
Jimmy, you're going to have to argue more than that. He said it was a free speech issue, but actually, he'd been told he couldn't do that. Jimmy, you're going to have to argue more than that. You can argue more than that. Place your bets now. Is he going to? He framed it. Imagine harmful opinions sent to jail for saying his opinion. He framed it as some sort of free speech issue, but actually he was told he wasn't allowed to say that, but said it anyway. So he knew what he was doing and did it on purpose to get that. What are you going to do?
The way it was being presented was very clever. Again, it was all about free speech. It wasn't about the underlying issue of Islam, etc., but it was just about free speech. And so when you're already primed...
Already primered? You mean primed. Jimmy, do you disagree that it is that?
To be sort of libertarian, pro-free speech, and you're perceiving these attacks on free speech, you start to wonder, why are they attacking these people for their speech? And it
oh no!
Unfortunately has this effect of making you think that the person is a truth teller and the government are trying to suppress them. And it reinforces...
If you're a retard, sure.
...your belief in what they're saying must have some truth to it, if they want to hide it so bad. And these people, what I would now consider grifters, they know that. They know that that's the response and the feeling it's going to create in people.
Jimmy, all you have to do is argue that it's not a matter of his freedom of speech being infringed upon. You have to at some point argue that it's not that. You're arguing negative consequences come from the defense of his freedom of speech. That's what he's doing right now. He's not arguing that it is not a matter of freedom of speech.
want to be,
which you can do, but he's not.
Martyrs, because then people will follow them even more ardently.
It's so important for the establishment because they know it brings the people. They know
Free Tommy Robinson and free him now.
Wir haben ein Problem.
And so, yeah, I go to like a rally, like a free speech rally when Tommy Robinson's about to go to jail, and I come across Nico, and I see Nico, and I've seen him online. I saw how he was trying to present everyone that went to a Tommy Robinson rally as a racist. And I knew, from my perspective, and knowing who I was, I knew I wasn't a racist. And so I go up to Nico, and I tell the people around him that he's trolling you, and he's trying to like make you look stupid online. And then Nico does misrepresent me in the video, and he says that I went up to the police and told them to get rid of Nico.
The police then came over and surprise, he started crying to them as well.
When in reality, I was actually saying to the police that Nico has his free speech. Because, you know, I'm fucking obsessed with free speech in this period of time. I don't know why. I think it's the single most important thing on earth. But either way, like, as much as I disagree with myself for being at that rally and supporting Tommy Robinson in that time, I still stand by the fact that I don't think these people understood why people were presenting them as racist, right? And I just want to touch on that.
Tell me a Trump.
We're just not going to get an argument that Tommy Robinson's right to freedom of speech wasn't being infringed upon. You're not even gonna make any kind of argument. You're just gonna say the consequences of him being defended on those grounds are bad. You want to talk about manipulative framing? Guess what? You're doing it, brother.
Policy right now.
I support.
Fake, waffle. You're waffling, man. Yeah, answer the question.
I support his trade policy.
How dare you fake this? How dare you?
You know, now, from, you know, the view I have now, I understand there are sort of two types of racism. There's like overt racism, which is like, you know, I fucking hate migrants when you send them back, they're the worst. And then
Is that overt racism? When when you have a scenario where it's easier for one group of people to migrate than another, is that racism, even if the people are primarily going to be white people, like coming from Australia and the US? Would being anti-US and Australian migrants, as we've seen in UK policy changes over the years, is that racism? If you're like, fuck those migrants?
you have this kind of more like subconscious racism, or like in effect racism. And what I mean by that is, like, I knew I wasn't racist because I grew up very multiculturally and I liked people of different races. I had lots of friendships with them and I got along with them very well. So I never in my heart felt anything bad towards people of different races. But what can happen from there is when you think you're like immune to racism, you sometimes are more susceptible to it in a way, but just a different
Is this going to be a 30 IQ description of systemic racism?
Type of racism. These grifters know they can't just say that, I don't know, black people are inferior genetically, although some of them have started doing that again.
They can now.
Found sneakier ways of wrapping it, often by hiding behind culture. These pundits will lie and say,
oh, so he's not even gonna... There are two kinds of racism. Disliking migrants and saying you don't approve of certain demographics' culture. What is this?
Stuff like 84% of grooming gangs are Asian Pakistani, which has been...
Oh. Hold up.
Lie and say stuff like 84% of grooming gangs are Asian Pakistani, which has been endlessly disproven. It is white people who make up the majority of grooming gangs. But
analysis. What is this source on screen? Analysis. A new Home Office report admits grooming gangs are not a Muslim problem. What is a Muslim problem? A new Home Office report admits a Muslim problem. I mean, obviously, Muslim isn't a race. Islam isn't a race or ethnicity. Aren't most new converts in the UK white? So it's like a silly quote to put on screen regarding this. is this? Hold on. University College London. Where this comes from. Analysis, a new Home Office report admits grooming gangs are not a Muslim problem. The study finds no credible evidence for a far-right stereotype that is spread widely in the media. What is the stereotype? Writes Dr. Ella Cobain, probably Cobain, in an article co-authored with Dr. Wackass to Fail. The Guardian. Watershed decade of discussion of grooming gangs. Home Office researchers now tell us that research has found that group-based offenders are most commonly white. Powerful modern racial myth has been exploded. What started as a far-right trope had migrated into mainstream, meeting little resistance along the way. In 2011, The Times and its chief investigative reporter, Andrew Norfolk, claimed to have uncovered a new ethnic crime threat, shrouded until then in a supposed conspiracy of silence. The racial stereotype gained credence when the Quilliam Foundation, a controversial counter-extremism group, claimed that 84% of grooming gang offenders were Asian. So this is the first thing he cited. The grooming gang's narrative fed into the internet far right. The claims that grooming gangs, group-based offenses. The grooming gangs were not properly investigated due to political correctness and a fear of being accused of racism are heavily undermined by decades of research. Research can't undermine that. Can't undermine it if the people who would have dug into it specifically didn't dig into it in that instance. It doesn't matter if historically, disproportionately, these ethnic groups are policed heavily, if in this instance they were specifically not investigated or pursued, probably because of the responses to that historical over-policing. What a fucking dumb statement. What's more, the whole history of the UK's response to child sexual exploitation and abuse is littered with failings. Sure. As shown by the independent inquiry into child sex abuse, Operation U-Tree, and numerous other investigations. Its title and executive summary both imply it covers group-based child exploitation in the whole, but it fails to include a whole range of problems that might reasonably fit into that category. Sorry. This research proves this. Also, the research is bad. Can I see the article? Original article in The Guardian. Except the study finds no credible evidence. Oh, so that's the whole thing. Okay. May I see it? And how are they defining races? Most child sexual abuse gangs are made up of white men. Home Office says the majority of child sexual abuse gangs are made up of men under the age of 30, an official paper said. The report, which covers England, Scotland, Wales, and summarizes a range of studies on the issue of group-based child sexual exploitation, group-based child sexual exploitation, also known as grooming gangs, said there was not enough evidence to conclude that child sexual abuse. Right. A lack of evidence was cited. We're talking about a paper that has a lack of evidence, and we're going to use that paper to make a concrete claim. So, his citation is saying what he's saying it does, but at the same time, it's leaning on a lack of evidence. Are they gonna counter? Feeling of perception as a result. Review was published after criticism that victims of child abuse have been failed because of fear of accusation of racism. It said research found that group-based child sexual exploitation offenders are most commonly white. Some studies suggest an overrepresentation of black and Asian offenders relative to the demographics of national populations. However, it's not possible to conclude that this is representative of all group-based CSE offending. This is due to issues such as data quality problems, the way the samples were selected in studies, and the potential for bias and inaccuracies in the way that ethnicity data is collected. I think this is fine for him to use, as it would suggest that his claims of their overrepresentation aren't supported. I don't think you can attack claims of overrepresentation on quality of data collection and then say, but from this same research we know that it's the whiteoids.
All this misinformation can lead you to believe that their culture is inferior to ours, and therefore we can't mix. And with the Tommy Robinson thing, it's kind of the same when it comes to Islam, right? You didn't hate people for being like having brown skin. You were simply critiquing their ideology, their beliefs.
You wouldn't do that with
Sir William
Would you do that with
You can look at a culture directly and judge it.
the Bible? Show some respect.
Show some respect.
Show some respect.
Have you read this book?
For people.
Have you read this
There
book?
are over
There's
a billion people.
So, you know, I'm listening to the greatest hits, right? I'm listening to Ben Shapiro debate some 12-year-old feminist. I'm listening to Jordan Peterson, Matt Walsh, I'm Joe Rogan till I fucking die. And I find myself accepting that I must be right-wing now. And, you know, little hipster Jimmy, that's cool, because now I'm different to everyone. I'm the contrarian. I have all the different opinions. Oh, no, the sky isn't blue. Actually, no, it's a shade of maroon. And, like, when you're listening to
When you decided you must be right-wing, what did that mean to you?
all this stuff, you get this sort of impression of the left, like what you're perceiving the left to be like, basically the worst of the left.
You know you're a millennial when you question whether or not it's ethical to bring children into this world. Because of climate change, we don't really know whether or not the world's going to be habitable in 30 years.
And so you just get pushed further and further right from more of a reactionary position.
Does he not understand that what he's doing now is like mainstream social media rightoid messaging? That to characterize someone who is hesitant to have children because of their concerns about climate change as the worst of the left, that's like Muskoid.
And rather than some actual ideological and maybe academic understanding of economies and politics, it just sort of is a feeling. And it's so funny, like when Ben Shapiro and these sort of people get famous off of facts don't care about your feelings. But to be honest, like conservatives these days, it just seems to be mainly emotion. It's how they feel about topics. They hate when you bring up academic
Is Shapiro like that? Conservatives these days.
papers and actual facts, and they don't trust any of that.
In Springfield,
Wait, and we've gone from the right to specifically conservatives.
they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there.
And ABC News did reach out to the city manager there. He told us there had been no credible reports of specific claims of pets being.
I think it's probably worth mentioning regarding feelings. I have bad news. It's feelings all the way down.
Harmed,
everywhere,
injured, or abused by individuals within the immigrant.
Look, I know Card's gonna say that. Card, say the line, Card. Why does he wear the hat?
Community.
Well,
all
I've
this.
seen people on television.
Let me just.
And either way, I find myself as a right-winger. I have not descended into overt.
In terms of the way this guy seems to care about facts, do you have like citation? Look, I put a little snippet of text on the screen. So I have a citation. There we go. Shapiro cites things. That seems to be on this guy's level for what counts as facts.
beliefs or overtly transphobic beliefs, misogynistic beliefs. I haven't gone that far, but I probably do house some sort of unconscious discriminatory beliefs in maybe trans people, perhaps even women to a degree. Again, often wrapping their push for equality and better rights as some kind of Marxist revolution. But I believe in the
It can be or it cannot be.
typical sort of right-wing viewpoint that the state should be smaller, that people are responsible for themselves.
Typical right-wing. That first one is a particular kind of rightoid, I would suggest.
And probably that, like,
individual responsibility on the right. That's a pretty big one.
Poor people are just lazy and they need to fix their own shit, and that billionaires and corporations are really good.
Oh, the poor people are just lazy thing varies. He's already said he was more of a libertard. Libertarian? Libertarioid. What's a good libertoid? Let's go with libertoid. But I mean, on the right, it ranges from poor people just need to pull themselves up to by their bootstraps to they need help, but it should be charity, or specifically religious charity, not the state. It's not.
And like, you know, sort of, unless they're the ones that, I don't know, Russell Brand says is bad, and then all of a sudden they're bad because they're tied to, I don't know, George Soros. George Soros business, bad. Bill Gates business, bad. But Elon Musk buying Twitter, good. Very good. Anyway, I'm deep in the pipeline, right? I'm deep.
Do you think you could give us an accurate description of those three people and tell us why you're inconsistent if you support the things one of them supports but are against the things two of them support? Do you think he could do that? Eloquently, clearly?
COVID happens. Obviously, I don't get vaxxed. I don't wear...
Because what he's doing right now, he's arrived here the same way he's arrived at all of his previous positions. He's not explaining how he got out of this system and being and got away from being swayed the ways he was in the past. This video is just a snapshot of where he is, having been dragged around like a leaf on the wind.
Mask.
Who knows where it'll be next year?
I'm sorry if I killed anyone. And, you know, again, I regret that position now. I literally didn't want to get vaxxed, not because I thought it had 5G in it or something, but just because I was so sort of libertarian right wing that I didn't like the fact the government were telling me to do it. And like, I don't know, I'm here today, I'm vaccinated, and the woke police haven't come to my door yet, so probably I was overreacting.
Vaccine passports. While we've been looking
I think getting the vax is meant to help with that not happening.
in other directions, they are being slowly yet deliberately introduced. Are they the linchpin in a global surveillance network?
So you might be wondering, like, what was the moment? Like, when did it all change? When did the damn...
I got the vax and the woke people haven't come for me yet. I think it works the other way around, brother.
Break. And there was a moment, right? And I can kind of point to it specifically. And it was through making my videos. Now, as you know, you guys are watching, you're probably really into all the social, political stuff I do. But originally, I was a parkour YouTuber. And then I became like an extreme sports YouTuber. And when I got to the end of this period, in 2022, I wanted to diversify my content.
He was unvaxxed. He caught up, I believe, is his suggestion. He said he was vaxxed now.
Right. And I remember genuinely, I thought I was probably even going to make, like, those sort of right-wing documentary series, like things like Jen or like some of Moon's stuff, you know, that kind of thing. I thought I'd end up in that ilk. But you see, because I was a smart bruh and I could read the room, I knew that I couldn't make a video why Jordan Peterson's the best man alive. I knew I had to take my time to kind of meander. So I made a video on a very specific topic about chavs.
Clothing brands that you didn't like were called chav. Rough neighborhoods were considered chav infested. But what exactly is a chav? And most importantly, where did they all go?
And so I made this video. It's really interesting if you rewatch it, because my biases and all of my thinking going into this video is that chavs are bad because they were dickheads and they chose to be bad. But whilst making the video...
Oh no. Chav liberation theory. Don't do... Chavs aren't bad, they're victims of, you know, it's just socioeconomic factors.
I'm wanting to address
fucking don't.
Like, where
do you go outside?
Where did chavs go? Why did they disappear? I stumbled across...
Why did they disappear? What the fuck are you talking about? They disappeared. Are you out of... What are you
geezer
talking about?
called Owen Jones. I see Owen Jones and all of my... But you see it in the video. I'm like, look, guys, I'm about to quote Owen Jones. I don't agree with him, but what he says about chavs is really interesting. You should probably listen to it.
Truly a war in the public
Interesting. Do you think it's accurate? And how do you know or not know?
sphere. The author and journalist Owen Jones, who I have to admit I don't really agree with him on a lot, he wrote an entire book called Chavs.
So I read it and I'm like, fuck, maybe chavs were like...
Chavs as the working class? Hopefully that's not what the book works off of.
a product of their environment.
Chavs are a bit more fucking specific. Yeah, guess what? So is fucking everyone.
And their
Oh, you don't like chavs? That's okay. I understand you can't help but not like chavs. You're a product of your environment.
economic status. Bear in mind, this is the opposite. This is the antithesis of my view, is that I would have believed as a right-winger that cultures are just like people who make decisions to behave in the way they want to. So these are bad people who are choosing to be bad.
Why are there people in identical situations who don't behave that way? How is that possible?
So after this video, I go down different rabbit holes. I'm making different subcultures. I do skinheads and I do football hooligans, which are both in a very interesting period of time, which is the Thatcher era. And the more I research into Thatcher and see how she completely flipped this country on its head, she completely radicalized Britain in...
Material conditions are relevant. Have an impact, of course. Going full determinist and on the basis that only how well off you are matters is fucking the dumbest shit, and you see it everywhere.
To be an extreme neoliberal capitalist, and it's kind of become just assumed that that's how the world has always worked, that's how we are. But then I discovered that at some point in society we weren't fucking insane capitalists that we are right now. I've discovered this because there was a period of time called the post-war consensus, which I talk about fucking endlessly on this channel. But in that period of time, we followed a style of economics that was called Keynesianism, which meant that the government's job was to make sure everyone was employed and to tax the wealthy at higher rates, use that money to build infrastructure that benefited the people. And then bear in mind, you know, I'm listening to Donald Trump saying, make America great again, and everyone's harping on about how the world was better back in like the 60s and 50s. And then I find out the reason why it was better was because we had mass public investment. This investment led to the greatest economic boom in history, raised many of the working class into the middle class, which created a whole host of new industries, new products, basically, it was good shit. What we did then was good. And you know, you got to bear in mind that I am being told the only answer to life's problems is dog eat dog, free market capitalism. Get the government out of everything. The government can do nothing right. Only the geniuses of commerce can do anything. Like our water supply that has no piss and poo in it. Or like our really quick and...
You love public housing, Orochi. He is also, yeah, not an anarchist. However, I'm going to say something else. I want to know this guy's position on giving the homeless housing. I want to know, and then I want to send him the pile of extremely annoying case studies on people being given houses and just fucking blowing it and it being a nightmare.
Definitely on time and affordable.
The one woman who was a victim of abuse by her boyfriend, ended up on the street, was given a house, practically no strings attached, and was on the street complaining that she lost that house because she brought her abusive boyfriend in to live with her.
affordable train system, or like our really affordable housing that people definitely aren't speculating on and shrinking the middle class.
Private water companies are dumping huge amounts of raw...
Like, let's say you can blame culture and all of an individual's behavior entirely on their family's past, their economic circumstances. Say it's all caused by that. The fix, like reversing that, making up for that, isn't necessarily enough to fix it, and it won't necessarily change the impact that's had on them. Like, even if you accept this idea, this model, doesn't necessarily mean the fixed system undoes that.
Sewage in Britain's rivers and off its...
Especially severely traumatically fucked people. Guess what they raise? Severely traumatically fucked kids, regardless of how much they have and how much opportunity they have. And then they raise severely traumatically fucked kids, and then they raise severely traumatically fucked kids.
Coastlines. They're doing so to save money, to ensure returns for shareholders, and by extension, to guarantee...
And a source of that may well be poverty, may well be even an echo of historical injustice. Doesn't mean they don't bear any personal responsibility, and doesn't mean the fix for that is even leveling things out again.
Affordable housing that people definitely aren't speculating on and shrinking the middle class.
Private water companies are dumping huge...
Is he gonna mention foreign involvement?
Huge amounts of raw sewage in Britain's rivers and off its coastlines. They're doing so to save money, to ensure returns for shareholders, and by extension, to guarantee massive salaries for bosses at the top.
And so yeah, time's going past, man.
Sometimes I have like nightmares about Russia nuking London. I just can't help it. It's like a subconscious thing. But then I just remember, like, why would Russia do that to China?
I'm learning this shit, and I'm like, fuck, and I'm starting to realize, like, I don't know if I believe all the things that I believe about right-wing politics, but I hadn't accepted it, right? I was becoming more and more distrustful. Things like this, right? 1 month, I went on holiday to Thailand. I walk in a coffee shop, and I see the most beautiful woman on earth, who is now my wife, and she is Ukrainian. I go to Ukraine. Literally, during the war, I've been to Ukraine many times, and I've experienced the most beautiful woman on holiday to Thailand. I walk in a coffee shop, and I see the most beautiful woman on earth, who is now my wife, and she is Ukrainian. I go to Ukraine.
Right. Here's my political position. By the way, I'm married to a Ukrainian. I have a strong feeling that this might be extremely relevant to your positions.
Literally, during the war, I've been to Ukraine many times.
You can be environmentalist and right-wing. You can be very environmentalist and very right-wing as well.
And I've experienced air raids. I've heard bombs go off.
There again, more attacks. Putin must be having a slow day.
Putin.
All the while, I look on my phone at all the right-wingers talking about Ukraine, and they believe...
You got to call him Putin, which is how it's said, I believe. And you'll see stickers here in the UK. So at dog parks, there's the bin for dog shit bags. People put stickers on it that has his face and says Putin, a tin for poo. Haha.
Believe that Zelensky is like, I don't know, a blue-haired feminist or something.
I will stress this again. One of the greatest enemies of our nation right now is you.
That's not the characterization as far as I'm aware. That's not the... Yeah. A lot of extremely Russia-sympathetic right-wing figureheads. Or talking heads, I should say. Does Tim Pool... Wait, is Tim Pool's problem with Zelensky that he thinks he's like a feministoid blue hair?
Ukraine.
And they're trying to say that it's actually NATO, and NATO are the bad guys, and America...
Yes, they say this. This is what they say. He's a warmonger. The money shouldn't be going there. It should stay at home. Blah, blah, blah.
America's bad, even though we're pro-America.
His problem with Ukraine is Russia pay him. Okay, look, but generalize it a bit more. Actually, you have to be careful when you're spreading it to avoid that characterization. But look, There are some people who are just like pro-Russia, anti-Ukraine, with no undue external influence.
America is bad. And, you know, I'm learning more about the Ukrainian conflict and all the history of how it came to be and why we...
You're also railing Ukrainian pussy, so... I feel like that's relevant.
We defend them and why we can't allow Russia to just go and take over sovereign nations. And so you learn more and more about this. But then there was two people I come across that...
You'd be talking about it if Tim Pool was married to a Russian, okay? All right?
Really, like, cemented the change, right?
And
so,
to be fair, he told us, but he didn't characterize it as, you know, like a source of bias.
I'm becoming distrustful of the right. I'm starting to see, like, you know, their takes on Ukraine as being ridiculous. And then...
That's it? Wait, you're not going to talk about, what's the name of the thing? Shit.
I come across a streamer. So right now we're deep in the sort of Andrew Tate era. Andrew Tate has blown up, and at first it was kind of, you know, it was kind of fun. It was like, especially if you're sort of a young right-wing libertarian type, you need to get strong to look after yourself, look after women, looking after the people you love. Like that sort of stuff was kind of nice. I started going to the gym, I started doing all that stuff. I was always sort of into the self-help stuff, so all that shit sounded good.
Wait, is this post-marriage and your Ukraine arc?
And then he started to talk about women.
To some degree, as a man, you have to instill drama in the relationship, because if you don't, she's going to get bored.
No, that's very true.
Sorry, does that bag behind Tate's head say full semen?
And she's either going to leave or she will instill the drama.
I can't see
which
very
gives her
well.
control.
Full send. Okay.
Then you're seeing all these Fresh and Fit podcasts and Sneeko and...
That is what Tate's known for? Creepy psychopath. I gotta say, when he was popping off, that's all I heard about him. I had him characterized as a pickup artist type guy.
All this crazy shit. And you're seeing like people making their entire livings complaining about women. And you're like, what the fuck?
Hey, men should be allowed to do it too.
Fuck is this? And there was one bruh who would go on these shows, and his name was Destiny.
Women fare a lot better post-divorce than men do, bro. And the reason why is because they get the resource, they get the money, they get the children. They get put in a better situation financially.
Here we go.
No, they don't. Dude, they get the house.
Moms don't live good on child support. That's not true.
I bet he's not a Destinoid. Let's see how he describes Destiny.
Bro, have you ever seen a bitch on child support? She's not living the greatest fucking life.
Women fare worse than men in almost every degree after divorces. So the idea of pretending...
What are you talking about?
They make more money. They have better dating strategies afterwards. Men just do better than women in almost every single metric post-divorce.
What? Bro?
Destiny was really interesting because he was a lefty, and he was proud...
I wouldn't call him a lefty.
To be a lefty. He didn't try and hide. He didn't say he was like a centrist. He was like, no, I'm on the left. But he didn't play into like the left-wing woke crazy stereotype. He was just a normal dude who presented left-wing ideas but was really good at debating. Now remember, debating the left up until this point was Ben Shapiro debating a 4-year-old. But now you're seeing someone who's actually quite well versed in the beliefs of the right wing, debating them and winning a lot.
I'd play some center left. To me, lefty means like hard leftist.
So I get into Destiny, right? And I even was going to make a video on Destiny. I might do it again one day. And I had a conversation with him on a stream, but I was so right-wing at the time.
In the same way that you don't call someone fucking who like leans right a right-winger. Well, maybe you do, to try and exaggerate and try and paint them for your side. But like a lefty is like a pinko. Can't say that word on Twitch.
I didn't know how to make the video because I kind of had this mental block between really asking him sort of questions. But then the final nail in the coffin for me, at the point where I realized I was no longer right wing, was when I came across...
Realized I was no longer right wing? You're talking about it like gender identity.
With him on a stream, but I was so right wing at the time I didn't know how to make the video because I kind of had this mental block between really asking him sort of questions. But then
I was so right-wing at the time.
Final nail in the coffin for me, at the point where I realised I was no longer right-wing, was when I came across Gary's economics.
You need to have structures in place in your economy that prevent the rich from taking all of the wealth. If you don't have that, history teaches us the rich get all of the wealth. And once the rich have all of the wealth, ordinary people end up with very poor living conditions. You know, if you go to countries that are very unequal, India, South Africa, you know, almost anywhere in Latin America, very unequal societies lead to very poor living standards.
Gary is like a working class geezer, and he became super
very much
wealthy as a trader, and his whole thesis was that income inequality is going to get worse, and he betted on that. He made money predicting that, and it came to fruition. Income inequality has got much worse. And what's interesting, right, is he talks about income inequality and why it was bad and why it's bad for house prices and cost of living, etc. But the thing is, and I don't know if he doesn't really talk about this too much, but it unlocked this vault in the back of my brain. It was this old memory of a clip that Jordan Peterson had put out. And it was him talking about the correlation between income inequality and crime.
You know, you always hear this idea that poverty causes crime. That's a classic left-wing idea. But it's wrong. What causes crime, especially aggressive crime, is relative poverty. Poverty is when you don't have enough to eat. Relative poverty is when the guy next door has a much better car than you.
The right wing really love to argue about culture. They always say that, like, it's people's, the problems in society comes from people's ideas and beliefs and their values, which is super convenient, right? Because when anything goes
how could it not?
Bad, you can just say that, oh, well, it's because people are lazy or they're radical Marxist or this. All the while, there's no solution to that, right? What can you do? You can't change people's minds. So it's just like, oh, well, I guess we just have to accept the status quo. But when you fundamentally challenge that view, the sort of outcomes come from culture and people's individual decisions,
he seems to be stuck on the right is just a particular kind of libertarianism.
And you start to realize that outcomes, you know, like negative outcomes, crime, poverty, people having less families, having less kids, that maybe doesn't come from culture. Maybe the reason that men and women aren't having kids and getting married isn't because they're no longer Christian and they don't believe in families and the nuclear family.
Wait, who the fuck is saying that? I don't think fucking anyone's saying specifically that.
Maybe it's because no one can fucking afford to have families. Maybe it's because most people in their 20s still haven't moved out of their parents' house. Maybe it's because they don't make enough money between two people to afford to have a child. There's all these things that are happening, and you realize...
What if people had a culture that meant they didn't care about that? What if people would have kids anyway, as some people do?
That probably the economic system is causing this. And it isn't just that the testosterone levels in men have dropped.
You don't have to go like full retard, it's one or the other.
It's because, I don't know, they fucking touch receipts or something. And so yeah, the sort of...
And they feed each other.
Of like
it's not fucking static.
The pin drop, it all sort of made sense. I realized that I actually don't think everything is culture, and I think mainly things come from economics.
No, Fabre Loop, it's false. It's why people in extreme poverty, people who are subsistence farmers, don't have kids.
I think most culture comes
less money equals less kids, always. That's how it works.
From economics. And like, yeah, of course, attitudes, values, beliefs, they also have an impact, but I think you cannot understate economics. And so from there, as I've had my fucking left...
Sure, but you can loudly state a fucked conception of it. You can overstate and oversimplify. Or rather, overstate via oversimplification.
Epiphany, my left whiffany, I start to really realize, like, kind of the woke stuff. Yeah, it's annoying. Do we need to argue about if there's an egg in a salad emoji? Is that really that important? And you start seeing, like, I don't know, Matt Walsh, where he's done this whole documentary, What is a Woman? And
my mind is absolutely fucked by this section of the video. Does what he's saying not suggest that the right wouldn't have problems with government interventions because all that matters is culture.
He's
his characterization of sides is really weird.
Expert in this. Going on Joe Rogan, being asked how many kids are on puberty blockers because this real fucking moral panic.
How many people have had this done?
Depends on what. I don't think we have exact numbers, but if we're talking about the drugs, I mean, millions.
It's a very small number, if that's right.
It says over the last 5 years, there were at least 4,780 adolescents who started puberty blockers and had a prior gender dysphoria diagnosis.
If your politics spends more time talking about, I don't know, what toilet a transgendered person is going to piss in, or the woke brigade, if it spends more time on that than the cost of living, the housing crisis, rise.
Where is he getting... Okay. Has he not seen the wave of deranged rightoids complaining about how much groceries cost? Even if just to try and blame it on Kamala? What does this guy fucking look at? And talking heads are talking about this obviously as well, not just random people on Twitter, but it's all over the fucking place. Everyone bitches about cost of living. When we went to the cheese stall at our local market, and the lady was like, "All right, good morning," and we're like, "Hey, we're just looking," and she's like, "Yeah, that's free for now, until Keir Starmer has something to say about it."
Inequality, things that, you know, are actually important and
I have a feeling she might not be a leftoid. I have a feeling that might be some sort of commentary on cost of things.
Actually affect your lives. If you're more focused on the former, then I hate to say it, but you've been bamboozled.
Google react to radical vegans screaming away by removing the egg from their salad emoji.
So what?
What about my rights as somebody...
Bro, you're a guy who's made a video called How I Escaped the All-Right Pipeline.
who loves eggs?
Yes.
To have the egg in the emoji.
It's an endless trope. These sort of moral panics, these clutching of pearls over social issues tend to seemingly always...
You're retarded, mate. It's called slow news. It's called a slow news day, bro.
When there's economic problems. Like, I think it was in the 70s where they tried to ban Dungeons and Dragons, the board game, because it was satanic and demonic. It just so happened that the 70s was like a massive economic crisis.
Who do you parallel? In a scenario where emojis are being changed to be more sensitive, the person paralleled with the moral panic Christians who were calling D&D satanic are the people saying it's ridiculous to change this stuff for sensitivity.
And so, yeah, the more I made these videos, the more I started to see these patterns, right? These patterns between the 20s and the 30s, the rise of fascism in the West, and how that seemed to tie in with the Great Depression. And then you notice that in the 70s and the 80s, you see the rise of the National Front, the racists and all this sort of stuff. That just happened to be the same time as stagflation and the oil crisis. And then now, lo and behold, 2024, we're in big economic problems, and it just so happens that the far right is on the rise, and the Tommy Robinson Farage followers are now throwing bricks at mosques. It's a repeatable story, and like when I've made
doesn't look like a mosque to me in that.
These videos, you start seeing these patterns and you start seeing how it plays out, and it always comes back to economics. And like, look, I have no hatred towards people who are on the right. I actually feel a lot of sympathy to most right-wingers because being where they were, I understand that they've kind of just been manipulated, typically.
Just being manipulated, typically.
They've trusted people who present information that try and rile them up.
I have bad news about the political positions of everyone. Overwhelmingly, they're not intellectually, rationally, logically, watertight reasoned to.
That make a lot of money from doing so, and they distract them from real issues. And the thing is, they're feeling the real issues. The real issues are affecting them, and they're trying to work out why. What is it? And the right will always try and find scapegoats to point at. It always does it. And like, as I've learnt more, as I've read the book from George Monbiot, The Hidden Ideology of Neoliberalism, Yanis, I can never say his name, Vokoris or whatever, his book, Techno-Feudalism, I kind of realized...
Damn. You're being fucked over by people who are just trying to make money. I saw the light. Buy these books. Affiliate link in description. Are they affiliate links? How do you check if they're There's a lot in this URL. Did he say? Recommended link in description. Hang on. I don't know how to check if these are affiliate links. If they are affiliate links, he's done a bit of an illegal here, because I don't see any disclosure anywhere. Access denied for link. How to tell if a link is an Amazon affiliate link. Look for /tag equals ? Link. Tag isn't showing up. On. Is ostensibly not an affiliate link. He's clear. Oh! And tag equals Jimmy the Giant Yeet. Jimmy! Where's the disclosure? Where's the fucking disclosure here? Let's check if there's a disclosure in the video.
Read the book from George Monbois, The Hidden Ideology of Neoliberalism. Yannick, the book, always try and find scapegoats.
These right-wingers are trying to rile you up and manipulate you for money.
Scapegoats to point at. It always does it. And like, as I've learnt more, as I've read the book from George Monbois, The Hidden Ideology.
Wow, as I've read these books, it saved me from the right. I recommend these. Link in description. Link with an affiliate tag in description. Will he disclose?
Neoliberalism. Yanis, I can never say his name, Vokoris or whatever, his book, Techno-Feudalism, I kind of realized, like, the argument should be about economics. The more I learn about the left...
Yeah, it should, you fucking scumbag. Undisclosed affiliate links. You piece of shit. That stuff pisses me off, to be honest. My Gamergate genes. My Gamergate genes. You fucking cunt. Alright. Time to report him to the FTC. No, it doesn't matter. Advertising Standards Agency. Let's archive this. Let me save this in the Wayback Machine real quick. Bump. Just want to make sure it's saved. For my purposes. I'm not really gonna fucking... I don't care enough to report him, but I will say hello. How do you even save stuff on the Wayback Machine nowadays? Fuck. me check. Tag. I will say, hello, Jimmy. I couldn't help but notice section where you explain rightoids are manipulating you for cash. That you recommend 2 books that will really help people. I also couldn't help but notice that the links you provide include undisclosed affiliate tags. Hello, Jimmy. I couldn't help but notice that in the section where you explain rightoids are manipulating you for cash, that you recommend 2 books that will really help people. I also couldn't help but notice that the links you provide include undisclosed affiliate tags. This is when he mentioned their affiliates at the end. Okay, we'll watch to the end.
If the right economic theories, the more evidence that I can see that left-wing economics tends to result in better growth and prosperity for all people. Our system currently is great for the 1%. It's great for the ultra.
What the fuck kind of statement is that?
It monopolizes money into few hands. When you don't have rules to regulate...
Yeah, I want to end with something snarky. I'm trying to think of the best way to do it.
Certain businesses, when you tax people less and less, it becomes this like race to the bottom. And there's a funny...
The pinned comment. Does he mention... Firstly, come join my Discord. We're almost at 1k. Secondly, if you're perhaps more right-leaning, I really appreciate you being here and challenging your own worldview by watching my videos. This is off the top and without a script, therefore not a full debunk on all topics, etc. If you want me to delve more into Tommy Robinson, Brexit, immigration, etc., let me know. Books I mentioned. Nothing there. What a brilliant way demonstrate the motives. The function of economic motives. No. How do I be a bitch at the end? Lest you pause, Andy.
Reason as to why I believe in these kind of left-wing values, and it ties back to my original right-wing ideology, is because of meritocracy. The right always claim to believe in meritocracy, that we should, as a society, reward people who are good at things, right?
Talking about the alt-right pipeline, the extreme right do not do that.
And I genuinely believe
necessarily
that.
No, what do you...
However, I don't believe meritocracy exists when some people can inherit the best education, eat the best foods, have time to do sports, be healthy, have time to learn the oboe and the trombone whilst doing the Free Peaks challenge. That person has such an incredible advantage over the person at the bottom of the hierarchy. The person who grew up in poverty, whose dad's in jail, whose mum has to work 3 jobs. That person who then has to leave home at 16 to pay rent and they can't afford to save a single penny. And the fact that this group of people that are living like this is growing, child poverty is growing, I think it's utterly insane to pretend that there is a meritocracy. But the right...
That's not a counter-meritocracy argument. That's an argument that it's unfair. Because people don't have the same chance to become the best.
The right wing, through a very concerted effort, has brainwashed most of society to believe that this is inevitable. We can't fix this. There's nothing we can do about this. But we know we can. We have in the past. Countries do right now. And so that is where I land. If it means that I now have to wear a badge to show I'm part of the woke brigade, so be it. I've accepted that through actually delving into
what
this
was
stuff,
that little
looking
flicker?
into social economic problems, reading papers from academics, not listening to Jordan Peterson tell me that the
Plug the
academia
book
world
again.
is overrun by Marxists. I've learned some stuff and I've challenged my way of viewing the world and had to challenge my ego at the same time. So I want to know you guys' evolution. Like, have you always believed in what you believe? Has it ever changed? What changed it? So drop that in the comments below. Join the Discord. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
I didn't pause Andy. I'm going to double check. Affiliate links have to be disclosed, right? At the very least, they fucking should. At the very least, Amazon requires that you do it. The final line. Is this perhaps a glimpse of your libertarian past slipping through? Just aware. Make you look like a phony in that part of the video. And a phony and a bit silly. That part of the video. Lovely! I believe the Advertising Standards Agency probably would require it here as well. FTC is less relevant here. Although I guess YouTube is US based. Okay. Right. We have one silly Flash thing to look at today. Right. Did I see all of the books he is promoting? It's just 2, right? Marxist Kama Sutra for Dummies. Wait, what? Was that in the video? I think I missed that gag. Was this a YouTube comment or a tweet? It was a YouTube comment. Go defend him. I'm making sure I'm not being a retard and missing a disclosure.
This video is brought to you by Squarespace. Yeah.
Right. What if we're not doing what if alt hist? Okay. I in an alternate life could easily have been a huge gambling addict. Nowadays, check the general chat. Am I the asshole for reversing my vasectomy? But it's not that. Hex. They let them back in. But also, yeah, actually true. Let them in. They have tests coming up. They need to concentrate. Right. I could have been a gambling man. Hex sent me a meme where the Jews were being cast out of a death camp, by the way, but with Arbeit macht frei overlaid with the Twitch logo. Many people have said that I have the soul of a Chinese man. In that I've spent periods addicted to mahjong. So when this video was recommended to me, I figured it might be a way for me to understand myself. Now, this could be interesting, and I could have stuff to say about it. If I don't, I'll just stop watching it, if I don't have anything to say about it. Right?
Video prompted some South Korean Buddhist monks to offer to quit. 8 were shown appearing to gamble in a hotel poker game, filmed by a fellow monk.
What?
Asia has a gambling...
Hey, we're the monkeys. People say we gamble around.
Problem. If you've ever stood outside of a nice casino, like ones in Vegas...
I don't... That clip is, like, interesting and funny or whatever. Is that problem gambling, or is that monks secretly gambling when they're not supposed to? What's wrong with doing a bit of gambling in your hotel room? Okay?
You've probably seen large...
Like, is it a problem because they're monks? I don't know. What's the context
tour
for
buses
that?
Packed full of gamblers. And if you waited to see the type of people that came out, it was most likely a bunch of Asians.
I think they were Asian.
Maybe even some of my relatives.
I heard them speaking. I think the language was Asian.
This isn't a coincidence, nor is it rare. Asians are obsessed with gambling.
I only recently learned that reference. Want to play a game of Lucky Hit?
Gambling. Just take the popular K-drama Squid Game as an example. Many of the contestants, including the main character, are playing only due to having gambling debt, and are then essentially betting with their lives. Though
I don't think that illustrates a particular connection to gambling in culture. That's a premise I could imagine coming out of any fucking culture ever. I think that's like a poor choice.
Dramatized, it's still meant to be a reflection of issues within South Korea, and in this particular case, a problem the rest of Asia also shares. Because of pop culture and films like Ocean...
Like, why instead of directly pointing to problem gambling, would you point to someone's depiction of an issue they believe there to be? Weird choice. I guess it works in getting people to go, yeah, I've heard of Squid Game, but...
11 and Rain Man, you probably think Las Vegas is the gambling city of the world. But in reality, they aren't even close to the magnitude of gamblers in this small area of China known as Macau. Whilst the Vegas Strip generates $6.5 billion a year, gaming revenue from Macau generates a whopping $37 billion. But
holy fuck! Explain.
That's not even the most shocking fact. With Macau being made up almost entirely of Asian gamblers...
Macau? Made up entirely of butter? Did you know my daughter's first word was butter?
75% of the country's overall revenue comes from gaming, and the other 25% from hotel and resort accommodations. That means the entire purpose of Macau is gambling.
Holy fuck! Okay, this video is great because I didn't know about any of this. Vegas world.
So at this point, it shouldn't be a surprise that Asians love to gamble. But
Fair
why
enough.
is that? To tackle this question properly, I kind of need...
Yeah, forget Squid Game, give me that. Macau.
to split it up
Existence of
into a few
Macau, you
smaller
win.
questions. 1. What factors cause Asians to gamble so much? 2. Why are problematic gamblers in Asia unable to stop? And 3. How does this affect the individual?
It'll be really interesting if number 2 isn't related to addiction.
And those around them.
I presume it's gonna be, but what...
Though social gambling is seen in every culture, many Asians gamble for a different reason, and will instead just use socializing as an excuse to cover their true purposes.
True.
When it comes to factors which cause Asians to gamble so much, it ultimately revolves around 3 things. If you've ever watched slice of lifestyle anime, specifically ones based around the work culture in Japan, It's very likely you've come across scenes where a businessman is seen gambling after work. This is because
I've seen people filming this for real.
Countries like China, Japan, and Korea have a problem of forcing company employees to work long hours. Compared to the Western 40-hour week, employees in these East Asian countries are often required to work 60, 70, or even 80 hours, with much of
blacked companies
it being unpaid overtime. This is such an in-depth topic which I could make a whole other video on, which I probably will in the future, so stay tuned for that. Anyway, as a way to de-stress, gambling, which is an easy and highly stimulating activity, has become extremely popular with
Hell yeah.
businessmen.
Mahjong, let's go. Mahjong isn't gambling, it's a game of pure skill.
でデータも取ってるんで、仕事として個人でやってる。
Secondly, because of either a lack of understanding of probability or the belief that one is actually able to beat the house.
I was wondering. I'm not a scholar of Asian culture, but I'm aware of many tales of beliefs regarding luck in Asian cultures. Do you think that's an influence on people's willingness to gamble or expectation to win?
Some Asians will go to the casino and call it
Hygiene?
working,
No.
as they view it as a side hustle on top of their normal job. There are even certain cases where individuals will quit their day job to pursue gambling as a full-time career, believing that it's their fate to win big at the casino.
Their fate. People do that in the US as well, though, and it's really funny. I watched Love After Lockup with my girlfriend, and there was a guy who met a woman who was in prison on the Love After Lockup dating website or whatever. She comes out and he's really worried about her falling into bad habits, going on a bad path in life. And then it comes out that his job, his work is becoming a pro poker player, and he's not fucking good at it. And he isn't making any money, but is spending all his time away, and he's gotten her pregnant. And his goal is to be a professional poker player, and he sucks. It was so funny. It's so good.
Everything on 34.
Zoidberg, what are you doing?
I don't know. I think it's called...
Jay Jameson says, after playing video games as a child, gambling had no draw to me. Do you mean all gambling? Like, inclusive of games like poker or mahjong, where your choices matter, and you can get an edge, and you can play skillfully to, over the long term, get better results and optimize? Or do you just mean, like, playing slots doesn't appeal, but you'd be interested in those? Because, like, just playing slots doesn't appeal to me, but mahjong, poker, very appealing to me.
34 red. You win $288 million.
And this isn't even being like a professional poker player. These people will just go all in on something that's based on complete luck, like Baccarat, believing that they are...
okay, that is different to what I've seen. That's crazy shit. This sounds like it's gonna have something to do with the Asian luck culture, so I want to hear about
guy.
Trust me, you're not that guy.
And if you need
Who do
more
you think you are?
91% of total income from Macau casinos come from this one game. This leads me to the last factor.
I thought he was gonna say come from this one man.
You'll find that popular MMORPG games, especially ones in Asia,
Dungeon
such as
Fighter.
Korean game Black Desert Online, often will give you stats that reflect and are measurable in real life, such as strength, speed, and stamina, but then also feature an arbitrary stat, luck. This is because in Asia, the concept of luck and predetermined fate is valued just as much as intelligence and
I get that you're tying it into games and anime for the sake of your audience's interest and to make them excited. May I introduce you to Western games? May I introduce... Did you know, in the West, we also have the concept of luck?
strength. Hey look, by all means, I hope I'm lucky and this video goes viral. But since you can't measure luck by lifting weights or running a race, what's the solution? You go to the casino to see if your luck stat has gone up, or down. Essentially, when gambling, many Asians are just trying to predict their fate. Being profoundly superstitious, the belief is that if they're worthy, they'll win money. And since luck is on their side, they may as well make some free money. But if they lose that night, that just means they need to make some changes in their day-to-day to improve their luck, and then try again. This is where the concept of luck truly becomes omnipresent in Asian culture. The concept of luck holds...
Okay, so it's not just a stereotype. And it seems to be all across, or at least all across East Asia. My favorite. Would it? Hey, does the money cat? Money and money and money and money and does the money cat count as a luck manipulating thing?
A uniquely prominent place in Asian cultures, more so than many other global traditions. This cultural phenomenon is vividly illustrated by the significance of numbers. For example, the number 8 is considered particularly lucky in China and several other Asian countries. This belief was highlighted when the 2008 Summer Olympics in Beijing commenced on August 8, 2008. Conversely, the number 4 is often seen as unlucky because it sounds similar to the word 死 for death in Chinese. As a result, it's not uncommon to find high-rise buildings in Asia where the 4th floor is relabeled as 3A or just completely removed. Luck also manifests in other...
I feel that that's a poor example of the ubiquity of luck in Asian culture versus the West, because similar things occur. I don't know if in England, but certainly in the US, where they'll skip the 13th floor. So that doesn't give them a point over. That matches. They're matching Western luck, but...
other aspects of Asian culture. During important celebrations like the Lunar New Year and weddings...
And we've got lucky number 7.
It's customary to give red envelopes filled with money, a gesture intended to transfer good luck to the recipients. Additionally, the principle of feng shui, which involves arranging physical spaces to attract positive energy, is taken very seriously. Many high-rise developments in Asia include feng shui consultants in their planning teams to ensure their buildings not only follow modern engineering standards, but also attract good fortune. Even in the US, the influence of Asian luck concepts can be observed in the design of casinos that cater specifically to an Asian clientele. These establishments often feature high roller tables and slot machines, adorned with dragons and other symbols associated with luck and prosperity.
But are they the derpy dragons? You gotta have a good, like, fucked up Down syndrome looking reptile, or it's not true Chinese dragon.
In Asian cultures. Despite the diverse demographics in America, including significant Hispanic and Black populations, outside of English, gambling machines will generally only display Chinese characters.
Yeah, you think Asian culture is all about luck? My girlfriend's called Lucky Bee.
Rather than Spanish, reflecting a deep connection between Asians and gambling.
Why they can't quit.
But here's the thing. I think when done responsibly, it's fine. A bit of fun here and there. However, it's estimated that between 14 to 23% of Asians have some sort of gambling addiction.
As many as 23%?
Which is clearly an issue.
Across all of Asia?
1 in 5 means that chances are, if you're watching this and are Asian, you probably know someone in your family that's gambling a bit too much for their own good. But this percentage being so broad is actually part of the issue, which I'm going to get to in just a bit. Regardless, even if we look at it from the lower end of the spectrum, it would still be double where I live right now. Australia's 7.9%. So the biggest reason as to why problematic...
That's still pretty fucking high.
Gamblers in Asia
What the shit? Hang on. Percent, I guess, problem gamblers, UK? Gamcare. According to the YouGov prevalence study in 2020, as many as 2.7% of people in Great Britain might be considered problem gamblers. Government's Gambling Commission report suggested only 0.2% were. Curious.
Unable to stop. And also the reason for such a wide estimation is because of the Asian concept known as the culture of shame. In Asian cultures, especially Eastern ones specifically, There is a prevalent belief that one should not burden others with their personal issues, as doing so can be seen as shameful. And this goes beyond trying to hide getting water splashed on your pants whilst washing your hands. This perspective can be particularly strong regarding sensitive topics such as gambling addiction, money issues, and mental health. I talk about this more in depth over in another video, so please check that out later if that's something that interests you. Consequently, individuals suffering from such an addiction may keep their struggles private, refraining from seeking help or even discussing it openly. The stigma
This is true here though as well.
associated with admitting to having a gambling problem exacerbates the situation, leading many to suffer in silence. And this reluctance to share or seek assistance ultimately creates a perpetual...
Like, he's using this as a... as an explanation of why there's the gap. It could be that the lower percentages are just wrong in other countries for a similar reason.
negative cycle, as the individual continues to grapple with their own challenges alone, without the support of professionals. Actually,
Tim, Jimmy has replied. Did he say anything fun?
That 14 to 23% stat I mentioned before doesn't even paint a proper picture of how secretive the gambling problem is among Asians. The UCLA did a study in 2014 that revealed the rate of gambling addiction of specifically Asian Americans ranges between 6 and 60%. Eva Samuelson's research paper, The Zone and the Shame, Narratives of Gambling Problems in Japan, which interviewed participants across Japan who have gambling addictions, further supports this idea as she concludes, after interviewing these gambling addicts, excessive gambling is entangled with the feelings of shame, guilt, and stigma that feed the escalation of problems and push the gamblers towards isolating themselves from normal relations and activities because of the need to hide the problems. Another interesting reason is that despite the fact that gambling is...
Give me something that really smells mega Asian. That sounds like he's just going, haha, nah, just a grifter, look, I'm just trying to get money. Hopefully he updates it and adds a disclosure.
Illegal in almost all of Asia, including mainland China, Japan, and Korea. There are many grey areas individuals and businesses do to bypass this law.
React to Scottish U? Who the fuck is that? WWE is awesome. That's not me. That was me 2 years ago, alright? Can I say pachinko on Twitch? Unfortunately, I can't vote for Kamala Harris in this election. I can't because I'm in Scotland and not a United States citizen. However, I mean, it's really purely because you're not a United States citizen. If you were a US citizen in Scotland, you could vote. However, I am cheering her on from across the pond and supporting every single blue voter I can. Vote blue, Harris Waltz. He says Walls, though, doesn't he? Waltz. Harris Waltz 2024. This AI Gen? 33.7k likes.
別にあるからそれはなんで別にあるんですかまあそこでお金のやり取りしたら犯罪なんで犯罪ってかギャンブルになっちゃうんで景品をもらうって体で
Yeah. It's the thing where you go to the other business. Where it's the same owner, but it's technically a different bonus or a business, or it's a different premises, so it doesn't count. Yeah.
景品をもらってそれを近くの換金所でお金に変えてるからセーフっていう認識です一応網目をくぐってるみたいグレーって言ってました
For instance, in Japan, whilst gambling and casinos are prohibited, venues quickly realized that in the fine print, gambling venues are only categorized as such if physical money is paid out in the same location. For that reason, the most popular and only legal way to gamble in Japan is to go to pachinko parlors, where the machine pays out silver bowls, which the individual will exchange.
Wait, no, that's not the good one. I like the absolute fucking sicko mode Do you know what it's called? I played one on stream once. I played a few on stream once. The absolute fucking sensory overload Chinese, not even gambling exactly game, but it demands a bunch of money, and some of them are in bars, and you like look down over them, and it's like boss incoming, and there are like a million fish flying around, and you're shooting the stuff, and you have to power it up and go. Do you know what I'm talking about? There are tons of them on Steam, but they all have names that are Chinese characters, so I don't know how to search for them.
Gift, and then take to a separate location nearby.
It's
to
not a
exchange
shoot 'em
the
up.
gift for real money. I mean, that's literally just gambling with extra steps, right? Aside from Korea, which I'll get to in just a sec, in China, Taiwan, Vietnam, Philippines, etc., Macau is the solution for gamblers. Every day, millions travel to Macau.
Asians pretend to have real language. They speak American English in private. Prove me wrong. If you're going to talk about Japan's relationship with English, yeah, there's a lot of borrowed words, to the hilarious point where if you don't know the word for a noun, like if you don't know a Japanese noun, there's a good chance you can just say the English word with a racist accent and it might actually be the word. Like, there are really good odds.
Macau for the sole purpose of gambling, and like mentioned before, it's really all Macau is known for. And even though Macau is technically a part of China, they operate under the one country, two systems principle. Thus,
also a huge push for everyone to learn English. Famously, Rakuten, right, made all employees when they were on business premises speak English. Right, that was a thing, right? Some of the words are borrowed from German too. Arbeiter. Yes. Arbeit is yoinked from German. The best Japanese loanword. I learned this from Chris Broad's channel. Do you know what the Japanese word for a buffet is? Viking. Which is Viking. Because they wanted to go with smorgasbord, but it was too long and confusing for people, so they just went smorgasbord, Sweden, Viking.
gambling is allowed over there. Korean law, however, is slightly different. They don't allow their citizens to ever gamble in their life, even whilst abroad in a different country. They do, however, have one specific
That's crazy.
place known as Gangwon Land where gambling is allowed and the only legal exception for Korean citizens to gamble. So then why is gambling in Korea still such a big issue where even Lisa from Blackpink got her money stolen by her ex-manager so that he could spend it on gambling? Well, ultimately it's very hard to track whether or not Korean citizens gamble abroad. But that being said, Korean gamblers have found another way to throw away their money, and that is through crypto.
Ah, okay.
Netizens of Korea will buy crypto and then use a VPN to access gambling websites which would otherwise be censored in Korea. And this
Kick.com, liberating the Koreans. Please clap. Please clap.
This would be a great place to insert a VPN sponsorship, but I have no subscribers, so please subscribe. So how big of an issue is...
I bet he could get one if you want, like, if you really want to pursue something like that. Oh, that was his first video. Never mind then. If this is genuinely his first ever video, I was going to say, even with 14.5k, he could get one for sure, if he really wanted one, but okay, presumably he had none initially. Damn. Really? Is that really his first? 19th May 2024. Shit.
is crypto gambling? Well, due to the anonymity that comes with these currencies, it's really quite hard to tell. However, South Korea is estimated to be the third largest cryptocurrency market in the world, and South Korean crypto exchanges account for almost 10% of the global trading volume, with the Korean won ranking among the top 5 most traded currencies for Bitcoin. That should give you some sort of indication of how widespread it is there though. Now, there is an argument to be made that a lot of online video games in Korea take crypto in their in-game microtransaction purchases, resulting in the prevalence of crypto.
Yeah, Nixon to accept cryptocurrency.
Is this Maple Story? Wait, what is this?
For
Am I losing my mind?
Story. Yes.
And honestly,
okay, there we go.
I agree, as it kind of leads me to my final point as to why it's so hard for Asians to stop gambling. Even in the best casinos in the world, where payouts are considered to be more frequent, over time, the player will still lose money at least 50.0001% of the time.
With some exceptions. With one famous exception. If you play blackjack perfectly and they don't have countermeasures to prevent you from getting an edge, you can beat the house on that game.
After
maybe others.
After all, the house always wins. Despite this, what if I told you there's a way for players to lose money 100% of the time?
Countermeasures, yeah, such as kicking you out so that you don't play long enough for your edge to matter.
Introducing loot boxes.
There are now a number of studies that show that loot boxes are associated with gambling and gambling problems. They are a random chance item. You have to make a payment.
Do you want my my gambling addiction story? Devastating, okay? We're talking the big bucks, okay? I lost money gambling. £200. Ooh, but this was when I was young. This was like, would have been what, early 20s or something? Early 20s. And I played Guild Wars 2. And I wanted a legendary precursor weapon. And I was farming exotics to throw into the Mystic Forge or whatever, and hope that it spat out a precursor over and over again. And I would grind for hours and hours and hours and try and get one. And it just couldn't. I just couldn't get it, and I was so annoyed. So I'd do a big run, and I'd get all these exotics, throw them in, burn them all up, and then be like, fuck, I've got to get one soon. So, of course, Guild Wars 2 lets you buy money, and then you can use that money to buy items off the marketplace, and then you can throw those items into the Mystic Forge and burn them all up. So I spent like £200 on Guild Wars in-game currency to buy exotics off the marketplace, burnt them all up trying to get a precursor, a legendary precursor, never got one. So literally just spent £200 to delete a bunch of items. And then I never did that shit again. I learned my lesson.
And you get something that's of value. And then you start to look a lot like a gambling characteristic or a gambling mechanic within the game, which is available to people without any age restrictions or other consumer protections as would be required by any other gambling activity.
Almost every popular online multiplayer game, especially free-to-play ones, have a loot box system. Games like MapleStory, Lost Ark, Black Desert Online.
Overwatch is an amazing example. Was I a Sylvari? I had a few different characters. The one I played the most back then was a Norn Mesmer.
And many more are all known as pay-to-win games, where...
Man, don't remind me of the Overwatch loot boxes. The loot boxes were so much better because you could get the stuff for free. Now it's like, hey guys, Overwatch has no gambling, but I also don't get anything because I'm not going to spend money regardless.
The better items you have, the stronger you are. However, these items can only be obtained via loot boxes, which can only be bought using, well, you guessed it, real money. These loot boxes not only give you zero guarantee that you'll get the item that you're looking for, but will more often than not give you dog shit items, forcing you to buy more. As you may have already guessed, this is where the gambling aspect comes in. Players will spend a fortune opening these loot boxes, hoping for the right item, but in...
I bought like 3 or 4 keys for Team Fortress 2. Got an unusual hat, sold it for a couple hundred.
In reality, often the item that they're looking
Pretty
for has a
happy with
drop
that.
rate of 1%, or even less. But it's not just pay-to-win games that utilize this, as you could always just avoid those types of games. The most popular game in Asia, League of Legends.
I got the you know, the like the boxing helmet or whatever you call it, plasma effect.
Legends, which personally I'm also obsessed with, has loot boxes for skins.
This was the skin I was trying to unbox for $3,000. This is the skin I spent $3,000.
Tyler shouldn't be spending that kind of money. He needs it. He needs to save up for his gamer head dent surgery.
Trying to get on my Me Big Brain account. $3K. And I just got it on this one.
And whilst most of the time you can get these loot boxes from simply
check the AI generated channel.
I see. But Itoi-san, how do you know about the 3 blades? Years ago, I was Chinese.
The 3 blades refer to 3 literal blades. Okay, let me put this on screen.
I see. But Itoi-san, how do you know about the 3 blades? Years ago, I was Chinese.
Holy fuck. Oh, we're uploading this. Oh. I'm stealing your meme. Hey, the meme stole my face. I'm allowed to steal the meme. Okay. There we go. Beautiful.
playing the game, certain ones which happen during events known as capsules can only be bought with real money. For example, the skin Divine Heaven Scale Lee Sin had a drop rate of 1%.
Lee Sin! Lee Sin is based, or he was when I played Tiny Demons. What's it called? What's the auto battler? What's the League auto battler called? Royal Rumble. Team Fight Tactics, thank you. Lee Sin, where he kicks someone to the edge and then zooms over to them and kicks them off the map, and then kicks someone to the edge and then zooms over and kicks them off the map. That was tight. That was very satisfying.
Costing roughly $3 each, which means if you wanted to guarantee yourself of getting this skin, you'd be looking at forking out $300. Look, to be completely honest, I do own that skin myself, but I got it on my first try, so I guess you could say my luck stat is pretty high. And whilst games with loot boxes are indeed common worldwide, the real danger comes in when 1, you live in a society with a culture of testing your luck, and 2, traditional forms of gambling are prohibited. This ultimately leads to a society.
I don't buy that second point. Loot boxes and stuff are more dangerous when you haven't, been vaccinated against it by regular gambling.
Society addicted to gambling via non-conventional methods through online video games. In Japan's gaming industry, gacha games are a top revenue-generating genre, accumulating billions globally in recent years. These are games where players use real money to engage in a lottery-like system to acquire characters, a process commonly referred to as pulling.
Isn't it more of a, raffle-like system?
For characters. Players often select characters to pull based on their appeal as fictional personalities. Similar to the loot box system,
players often decide which character they want based on the degree of their attraction to children.
Gacha games are frequently likened to online gambling, since players spend in-game currency without any guarantee of obtaining their desired characters. For instance, in the popular Japanese game Grand Order, the probability of obtaining one of the rarest characters
Grand
stands
order.
at a mere 0.7%, requiring an average expenditure of approximately $558 in-game currency to secure the character. And I thought my addiction to League of Legends was bad.
Don't do
to a
this
survey
turnaround
of
stuff. I don't like it.
nearly 1,000 Grand Order players, 20% admitted to spending this amount to pull.
There's a Fate fighting game, right? Am I crazy? Wait, hang on. There's a couple. Aren't the guarantees the mercy rolls not for specific characters, but just for getting a specific rarity?
For a character. Yet, a third of these high spenders fail to acquire the desired character. One distinct aspect of gacha mechanics, setting it apart from traditional online gambling, is...
Wait, Melty Blood is the Fate one? I'm familiar with Melty Blood. I didn't know that was a Fate thing.
It's a personification of odds. In gacha communities, successfully obtaining a desired character is often described as them coming home, suggesting that the character has acknowledged the player's longing and has arrived where they are meant to be.
Sorry, buddy. I didn't really expect you're gonna
It
come.
has Saber in it? Yeah, but she's a guest character, right? Saber's... Wait, am I losing my mind? That's the one who's secretly King Arthur or whatever. Wait, am I crazy? I have weak memory of this.
Oh.
This personification reflects the deep emotional connection the players feel towards these characters, further complicating the dynamics of the gaming experience. I mean, for example, take a look at my Genshin Impact account and take a guess as to how much I've spent. The answer is probably too much. Anyway, What's even worse is these games often aren't heavily age restricted, leading to literal kids losing massive amounts of money. An instance of this is
Youth access to these things is absolutely fucked. I will agree with that 100%.
10-year-old Chinese girl, Gong Yuan, who lost her family's entire life.
Like the whole thing about lack of access to traditional gambling, blah, blah, blah. Nah. Access to this by for children is insane.
Savings of
I'm not a pedophile, Irish Major Tom. I just happened to roll Clee and her bombs seemed strong.
64,000 USD, opening loot boxes in a mobile game. And if you think she's an innocent child who wasn't sure as to what she was doing, it was later revealed that she also deleted chat and transaction records to hide
Bro. Right. The 13-year-old understands it's wrong, but her sense of the consequences, right? Probably off. No shit, the 13-year-old knows she's doing something wrong.
the payments from her parents. Talk about an addict mindset, right? And yeah, I know this is an extreme example, but it does nevertheless reflect the issues of gambling with online games. As a result, the Chinese government considered banning loot boxes from all games, but following that announcement, China's biggest video game conglomerate, Tencent, had their shares fall by 16%, as well as NetEase, the second largest, dropped by 25% in value. So consequently,
the FIFA stuff is crazy. By the way, yeah, the turnover. You do all that, Outshred, and then the next game comes out. But additionally, I've ripped on gacha fans. Alright? The real pedophiles are the FIFA players. How many fucking stories have there been of people luring kids with, like, FIFA boosters, FIFA codes? That's what the pedos use. I swear there were, like, 20 stories that I saw all in 1 year. Not too long ago.
It's
always like, priest lured the child with FIFA packs. Teacher lured the child with FIFA packs.
Government reverted their plans. This leads me to the finale of this three-part question. Whilst the obvious answer is that
how does it affect the individual? It depends whether they get what they want or not.
As is with all gamblers, and then maybe they get angry and hit their kids, partner, etc., etc. Just like the West, the actual extent of how
I think I'd be more likely to hit my kid if they were the gambler who spent, what was it, $64,000. I'd beat the shit out of that little asshole.
How much Asians lose to gambling and the extremes they go to fuel their addiction is on a whole different level. I mean, after all, the problem of gambling addiction is so out of control that practically all Asian countries have outlawed gambling. And perhaps you might find that surprising, especially if you live in the West like myself, as I was confused about this law, since why shouldn't someone be allowed to gamble with their own money, right?
Does Australia count as the West? Korochi said it like at the same time I was saying. I was just like, wait, the West?
Right? Why can't I freely make my own choices? After all, it's my money. If I decide to waste it, that should be my right to do so, right? However, this is where the flaw in the reasoning lies. The very foundation of this argument is problematic. Interestingly, if you hold this view, it's actually probably a good sign from a societal perspective, because
we're talking all Commonwealth is the West, but then that would mean we'd have to recognize Canada as being part of the West.
Well, you're probably living in a society that functions one step better and healthier than most of Asia. The key aspect of that phrase is your own money. In Asia, a significant issue that isn't widely discussed is that the funds involved in gambling scandals aren't just the gamblers.
I will say, we have all these run-down high streets full of gambling establishments, but I never see people in them. So,
own money. They often involve funds belonging to others. In Asian culture, power dynamics play a crucial role. Older family members or those in positions of authority wield significant influence. Because of this, control over one's own finances isn't as pronounced there as it might be in Western cultures, where individuals can firmly refuse to let others use it for gambling.
I forced Lucky Bee to buy hundreds of lottery tickets each.
Places like China, Japan, and Korea, however, rejecting such demands can lead to repercussions. Unfortunately, because of this, it's culturally and structurally more feasible to exploit social norms to coerce, particularly those close to you, into surrendering their financial resources to those in authority.
Police have asked the prosecution to charge former YG Entertainment
Babe, a new waifu just dropped. I need £500.
chief Yang Hyun-sok and former Big Bang member Seung-mi for habitual gambling.
Meet Shogun fed the streamer $20 Super Bear. I think there is something similar, to a lesser extent, about sending money to streamers. They want to be noticed by their parasocial friend. It's not gambling, but it's something.
There's some kind of like buzzing noise.
Is a worse version.
Did you guys hear that? What the hell was that? It was like a mosquito or something. I didn't hear anything.
해외 원정 도박 혐의 인정하십니까?
경찰 수사에 성실히 임하도록 하겠습니다.
A good example of this, especially if you're a K-pop fan like I am, only a couple years ago, the company's head of YG Entertainment was charged and
I feel too bad. Thank you for the dono. I was trying to be funny, but I feel
found
bad.
guilty of
even though you obviously understand the bit.
Misusing a substantial amount of money, likely from company funds, on gambling. Additionally, like I mentioned before, a notable incident even involved Lisa from Blackpink, whose ex-manager embezzled about $1 million USD from her.
Today, June 2nd, Market News reported the shocking news that Lisa was swindled out of 1 billion won by a former manager.
She had intended to purchase an apartment, and her manager insisted on handling the transaction for her. However, instead of securing the
He goombled it away. Even Lisa, yeah, from Blackpink. He told us about her earlier.
Property, he diverted the funds to a casino where he lost the money. And what's interesting is she didn't even end up suing him, which just shows how much power dynamics.
I was just thinking about that Jimmy Guy's video. And I feel like another lens you can look at it through is, hey, when you try and derive an understanding of ideology from public presentation of polemicists and talking heads, it seems all fucked up. But when I read a book, it's clear. By the way, the books I read were from the people on the other side.
Plays a role in the actions people make in Asian cultures. So getting back on track, the core issue here is that the money being gambled away is not solely the individuals. It often involves funds belonging to others. This puts extra weight on decisions like ones faced by Lisa, where refusing might jeopardize her standing within the company. This means the need to maintain trust and good relations can pressure individuals into making risky financial decisions. Oh,
True.
and to top it all off, in most Asian countries, debt after death is inherited by a family. So unlike the West, if you lose all your money
That's fucking ass.
gambling, there's no real way to escape responsibility, since the money you owe would just be passed down to your loved ones in the case of death. But some are selfish, and that's why occasionally you'll hear stories of entire families suddenly becoming homeless, having inherited the debt from a deceased family member.
What the fuck?
Thank you so much for watching and sticking around until the end. If you found this interesting, I recommend checking out this video where I talk about why so many Chinese international students rush to Western universities.
That's insane, if not an exaggeration. That's bonkers. A long-lost relative died, and suddenly you're, hey, minus 200 grand to the bank account. Oh. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna call it. We've had a fun time tonight. Thank you for the viewership, the companionship, incredible generosity. That's gonna be all. I'm gonna go gamble that $20 I was just given on Mahjong Soul characters. That's what I'll gamble it on. Until next time, which is tomorrow. Don't worry. I'm gonna say good night. Sleep tight. Consider, like, if you've got spare sausage meat, not really enough to make sausage rolls or some other bigger recipe, you can just season it and squish it down into a patty and then fry it in a pan in the morning and have it as part of like a breakfast sandwich with egg and cheese. It's really good. Is Potato online? Is he Vine Sauce Potato? That's him. Okay. He's just called Potato. All right. See you guys tomorrow.
Love you.